On today's episode of Talking Town Ball, we invite the masses to get interviewed because, hey, we don't know everything there is to know. We're going to talk playoff baseball, and it's going to cover sections, districts, and regions. And, hey, you might learn a few things as we go along. So grab yourself a McCafe black coffee and a hash brown. It is time to talk town ball.
It is Tuesday, August 4th. Welcome back to Talking Town Ball. We have a ton to cover today, and I'll tell you what, we're not talking AJ Minter. We're not talking Dean Kramer. We don't care. We don't care about what the moves the Twins made because we have sections, districts, regions. Look at that. I remembered what they were. It's tough. It is tough. But we're covering it all, and we have, probably a million guests today.
A gaggle of
guests.
A
gaggle of guests. We're going to just get right into it because we know that you want to hear about your section, district, or region and what the people we have on have to say about it. So without further ado, we're going to kick things off here with Class A. Here's our interview. And we are here to cover some Class A baseball, all the sections. We've got Jack Hagan of the St. Anthony Hogs. Jack, how are you today?
I'm good, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And we should say it, too. You're a contributor on the state board rankings throughout the year. How long have you been doing the rankings?
Oh, last year for state was my first time. Usually our president does it, but he tries to get out of town with his girlfriend during town ball season, so that's when
he delegated some tasks.
The delegation there. Perfect.
Well, I mean, you have the task for us of covering basically all of A, all the sections. So we're going to kind of go a little rapid fire here, but if there's anything specific you want to touch on, we can definitely do that. But why don't we jump into it with section 1? It looks like double elimination bracket, and I'll just let you go for it.
Yeah, I mean, section 1 is kind of the traditional like Class B and now A big dogs, right? Obviously, Meesville, Rochester, Dundas, and Elko being in there, that's no easy feat to get past.
Right.
But with 4 bids, they're kind of my favorites. The traditional champions of the league and section are going to be, who I think are going to take this. There's obviously a lot of good baseball kind of across the board, but Meesville is what Meesville is. They're a powerhouse. They're really hard to beat, and you can't really put them away. Even if you score a lot of runs, they'll do the same to you. Mm-hmm. They're definitely my favorites out of the section. The other 3 teams I think will make a push are Rochester. They've been good for a long time. Dundas in their Sweet Park, getting away from home for the state tournament. I think they're going to make a run. They got some big bats in the lineup, and I think their arms will be just fine. And Elko. I think Elko's kind of had an up and down year, but, obviously they have a good combination of young guys and vets that could take them on a run here.
Absolutely. So you've got I'm looking at the bracket right now, and you mentioned you got 4 bids coming out of Section 1A. The losers bracket, if you end up losing a first round game, I love seeing this, but it is an absolute
it's like a ladder.
It's an absolute journey to get back to a seeding game. It's 4 or 5 you got to rattle off before you can get back into it. You named your top 4. Is there anyone out of that grouping that could potentially shake that 4 that you mentioned up?
I think the big thing at the end of the day is if Meesville takes a loss, right? If they come up flat one day, this could be a really hard section, and with the double elim, there could be some teams knocked out that I think are in contention because the teams just aren't going to make it out clean. I really do think Elko's kind of the team besides Meesville to beat here. That's a little weird to say. They've always been good, but Dundas has too. Mm-hmm. But we just faced Elko last week, and they showed up with an iron 10, and they kicked our tail.
Yeah. Wow. So a good group there out of Elko this year. Definitely keep an eye on Section 1A and remind us, where is this? Is this seeding? Is it high seed? Is there a host site?
It looks like it's high seed,
Yeah,
kind of across the board
how
when I
I'm
look.
reading it.
Okay. Gotcha. So we know a little bit more about Section 1A. Of course, Meesville, the powerhouse that they are, but Elko, a team to keep an eye on as well. Let's get right back on track. We're going to go to Section 2, and we'll let you take the reins with this one.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite section out of Class A this year, just because of, the realignments with a lot of the teams folding in A. It seemed like this offseason there was a few that went down due to numbers or vets or whatever it be. But my favorite 4 out of this with 4 bids are Burnsville, Chaska, St. Patrick, and Waconia. I know you guys know Waconia really well. I think Bezdechek's kind of the arm to watch, right, in A.
Absolutely.
St. Patrick, I think they've moved up to A now, and they've pushed all their chips in and just taken everybody within a 30-mile radius, it seems. And man, we were going to play them yesterday, but they look so good. They have hitters. They have, obviously the tax stalls. They have Gottschalk on there, and they have the arms to do it. They've not had a lot of trouble winning the league this year, and that says a lot when Burnsville's got 5 guys that are probably aces on any team in the state, barring the rare exception of having a true Division I ace or pro ball pitcher. And Chaska has been good for so long, and they didn't really lose anybody. They've brought in some young guys who seem to be in the league lineup, and I think they're going to be good too. My favorite definitely is St. Patrick out of this section, but I think Chaska could make a good run at it.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned Burnsville. That's the Bobcats. There is another Burnsville team. You got the Badgers. What type of team did the Badgers bring to town ball this year?
That's a good question. To my knowledge, I have not faced them, but playing a lot of the teams in this section, it doesn't sound like the Badgers were a true contender. It really, no offense to them, but the Bobcats are so good.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're splitting hairs inside the same city, it seems like they're going to, Magnet Park and playing for the Bobcats right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think with any team, any new team, it's kind of tough to get off and running. So maybe in the future we see more of an even split. But yeah, right now I think the Bobcats are just kind of running things.
Absolutely. So is this a high seed situation? You've got teams playing.
These are best of 5.
Oh, best of 5.
These are
series.
best of 5.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, I was talking to Gary Schlepper after we had played Shakopee, and they get Waconia, and obviously with Bezdechek, but you're kind of looking like, well, can Waconia... They play Tuesday, and then they get to come back on a Friday. Like, is that enough rest for John, or not? Can you get 3 wins with him before you lose twice? So that's what's kind of going to be interesting to see if guys go on short rest here to grab one of those 4 spots. And then, do you know, are they playing the following week? No, it looks like they're going right up to the 14th. Mm-hmm. So they must just be taking whatever seed you started with is what you would get in the state tournament.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that all makes sense. So you've got, is it a rotating home and away, or do they 2-2-1?
I'd assume it's 2-2-1, just like
Okay.
any major sport.
Yeah.
I haven't seen too much clarification on that, but I think that makes the most sense.
sense.
Well, we can always dig into that later.
It looks
but,
like, I think you hit it right on the head there, Jack.
Perfect. All right. That is your Section 2A, and we're on to Section 3A, and this looks like it is a best of 3 series. You've got your high seed playing a 10 and, et cetera there. Game 1 and 3 hosted by higher seed, so you've got a best of 3, and I'll let you take over, Jack, on this one.
Yeah, so this is the Metro Mini section for Class A. Obviously, there's been a lot of representation deep into the state tournament with this recently. Forest Lake making the final weekend last year, losing to Beesville. Champlin's been good forever, losing to Meesville again in the state championship, and just a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
I think the seeding is the hard thing with Class A with this new section alignment, because my favorite 4 teams in a section might not be the 4 teams that make it due to, league losses during the season. I think far and away here, I am a Forest Lake Brewers believer. They beat us in state last year with good arms. That whole lineup's tough outs. I think the Low Gators, I think they're the 4 seed out of the Metro Mini right now.
Yeah, it looks like they have I know it's not perfectly updated. I just went to the state website. I should probably go to their league's website, but it does look like Champlin was, at right now 8-6 in 4th place in their standings. So yeah.
Right. Yep. And I think Forest Lake, Coon Rapids, Low Gators, and the Anoka Bucks are probably the 4 best teams out of here. I don't think you can write off Champlin. I think it really sucks that Tyler Reichenborn blew his knee out hitting a home run and celebrating last year in state.
Man.
He's been out all year.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Because that is such a big bat, but they still have Sam Raiola and Trent Palmer to go eat an inning out of the pen if they come into a big spot.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so this is a section is this the Twin Ports Timbers, the Duluth team?
I think they're the 3 seed in this. Would you know anything about them?
Obviously, I think it's a talk of Class A is partially why are they here? Just people who have played in traditional Class A.
Yeah.
But nobody really knows about them.
Okay.
I mean, I've talked to plenty of friends in the Metro Mini, and I think the big thing is if we're going to go play a Sunday doubleheader at Wade Stadium in Duluth, we're not going to bring our league lineup. We're going to have the 11 guys whose wives let them get away.
Yeah.
And then we're playing a back-to-back. We're in their territory, and they have all their guys at home. That's hard to win. I think they're probably a solid team, but that attributed to most of their wins in the league.
Sure. No, that's fair. They do have some exceptions with Duluth. If Duluth is a higher seed, which I don't know where they're at right now. Did you say they're 3? So you actually do have the situation where Duluth is the higher seed. So you've got a Saturday game. They're going to be middle of the day, games 2 and 3 on Sunday at the lower seed. So
it looks like it'll be Elk River is their team they're going to play.
Right. So you got a game in Duluth, and then you've got basically a double header if need be at the lower seed. So they're definitely working around a tough geographical problem there. But definitely interesting to monitor. You've got how many seeds coming out of this one?
4.
Yeah,
4
out
bids.
of this, 4 bids. Yep.
And who do you like out of this group?
I think Champlin Park, if they get guys and they get attendance, Merrick and his boys are hard to take down. But I think Forest Lake is the one to beat.
Okay. And all of these, so you get through those best of 3, and then the second round of this tournament that's
is all seeding,
all at Anoka for seeding.
Yeah.
So Anoka will technically take on a host role after the best of 3, and beyond Champlin Park and Forest Lake, who else do you got there?
Coon Rapids is always really good. I think, I don't know where they're getting the kids from. Obviously, there's a lot of high schools around there. Coon Rapids High School's traditionally not been great, but they seem to always have a good town ball team at Wintercrest.
Well, Blaine folded, and I think Blaine's right up the road from Coon Rapids. Is there any sort of connection there, maybe?
They picked up a few Fusion guys. I know Champlin ate a good number, and Forest Lake got a lot of the Fusion guys that wanted to keep playing.
Gotcha.
Sure. And who do you got for that last bid out of this group?
Yeah, I really do think it's going to come down to, Andover's really good, but I really think Anoka has the edge. They have some top-end pitching that could just shut down.
Yeah, I mean, obviously at this point in the season, pitching is going to be king. So we've got Champlin Park, Forest Lake, Coon Rapids, and Anoka. That is your Section 3A. So anything else you want to cover on that before we go to 4?
I think we should be good. I'm looking forward to the last few.
Absolutely. So we're on to Section 4A. This looks like we've got a couple different host locations. We've got Parade Stadium in Minneapolis. We've got Round Lake Stadium in Eden Prairie, and then Memorial Park in Osseo. So 4A, Jack, what you got a lot of teams here. What do you like out of this group?
Yeah, this is an interesting one with the Riverview only having 5 teams, but the PNASH having so many. I kind of thought about this hard this morning, and I'm still going with the Pub. They're my favorite team, besides the Hogs and Town Ball. They're just good guys. They show up, they play hard, and they scrap wins together. They're probably not the best team in Class A. Hope I don't offend them saying that, but they always make the final weekend, so I don't see how they're not the favorite here.
Right. No, that's a good point. You've got the Max Strength Industrial Warriors, which used to be Lions Pub. Lions Pub, yeah. And that's what when you mention Lions Pub, that is who you're referencing. Continue on with this group here.
Yeah, obviously 5 seeds in the section. I think Nate Cousins 365 when St. Louis Park folded. They took on a lot of guys, so they
Sure.
kind of created a super team that's just underperformed the last 2 years, but they have the guys to do it. Tonka, obviously Mike Davis is still around. He's kind of a town ball legend in Class A, and they've won so much traditionally. It's kind of harder when we get into the PNASH because these are more theoreticals. I don't think the Northwest Orioles have enough to get through here with this many games in their playoff.
Right.
So I got to go to the Cobras, and I think my dark horse here is going to be the Minneapolis Mudcats.
Ooh,
All right.
the Mudcats. We had some Mudcat representation on earlier this year, and of course we'd pull for them too. I just want to mention you calling it the PNASH. That's a sweet. You don't want to say Park National. It takes too long. P-Nash, that's a sick way of doing it. But you got Lions Pub, you got Baseball 365, you got the Mudcats. Is this a 4-bid section as well?
This is a 5-bid section.
5. Wow. Okay, so
we need 2 more.
You got
then.
2 more that you can pick out of this group. It is kind of more traditional bracket play. Who else do you like beyond those 3?
Yep, it's going to be Pub and Tonka at the 1 and 2 for me. 365 is going to slot into the 3 seed, followed by Cobras and Mudcats in the 4 and 5.
Just rattles them off.
There it is.
Cobras. And we know the Cobras well.
Behold.
Hashtag behold. That is going to be a fun section, especially, you're playing you got Parade, you got some Eden Prairie, you got Osseo. You're all over the metro area with those games. So definitely one to watch and try to attend a game or 2 there. Awesome. So we got 4A covered. We got 2 sections left. We got 5A.
5
5A
were
is
a
gonna
little
be
lost
short and
here.
sweet.
Yeah, 5 we're completely in the dark on. We go on the website and we try to track some things. All I see right now are numbered seeds.
It's an empty bracket for us.
It's because there's 5 different leagues being represented.
Oh,
so,
sure. Okay.
You have, Eastern Mini team in Hinckley. You have 2 Northwest Border teams, the Bemidji Bucks and the Hibbing Miners. You have the Alexandria Black Sox from the Resorters League. You have the 2 Sartell teams from the Sauk Valley League. You have Dilworth, Sabin Mets, the 2 Moorhead teams from the Rabbles. So
a lot of outstate.
Have fun trying to even seed that. I don't even know
Yeah.
how they're going to do that, Jack. Any insight on that? I know you are more of a, down in the heart of the cities kind of guy, but as a Class A prognosticator, you are expected to know these teams.
You should know this.
So.
And I do. I think the safe bet here is that we go Moorhead out of it. The Mudcats they're undefeated, right? They're 13-0 overall, 4-0 in the league, and 8-0 in the section. I know they have a ton of Concordia kids from up in Moorhead that come play there in the summer and stay.
Yeah.
So they are a pretty young team. The Brewers, they've been good for a long time in Class A and B. We ran into them in Dassel in 2023 at your guys' place.
Mm-hmm.
And man, they just had old vets that could put together a game between kind of David Earn, Jeremy Peschel, those guys. They're scrappy. I think, will they have enough guys to make a run? I think the jury's out on that. It really does come down to pitching in state. But I could see them making a run. Surprisingly enough, if the Brewers don't slot in at the 2, I do have the Hinckley Knights there.
Okay, I was going to say
hot for
Hinckley, or maybe one of the Sartell Muskies would be probably right behind them. So
Definitely. So there is going to be some traveling being done out of this group because you've got a lot of just high seeds hosting, and boy, oh boy, there is some potential far away matchups for some of these groups. Something to keep an eye on there. So we got the Moorhead teams as well as potentially the dark horse in Hinckley there. Okay, we are on to our last but not least. We've got our section. Where are we at even? We're at section 6.
Section 6.
Yep.
And that is there's some definitely some notable names here. I'm going to let you take over.
Yeah, we're just
going
to get out of your way.
Yeah, this is all you.
Yeah, 5 bid section out of section 6. This is going to be high seed league play to reseed and then go play against each other. The 2 versus 4 on each side and the 3 versus 3 for the St. Paul League and Skyline. Obviously there is 2 auto bids out of this section already, with my St. Anthony Hogs winning the Skyline.
Whoa, baby.
Clinching.
Yep.
Thank you, boys.
Huge congrats.
And my second team, where I coach club for, all my boys, St. Paul Mudhens, they're all college kids on that team.
Look at you.
I played with or coached, so.
Everything you're touching is turning to gold, Jack.
I like to think so. But obviously with those two being auto bids, they've already clinched, so we're really looking at the next three.
Sure.
I think for the next three, Stockman's was kind of a sneaky favorite to win state this year. Having played them twice, yeah.
That was our pod pick.
Right, and having played them twice, their bats are good enough to do it, right? Brody Paulson, I think, has been kind of a mainstay in Class A, hitting 500-foot shots in the state tournament for the last 6 years. The addition of Donnie Blunt in mid-May this year, that's a big bat from the Park days and Lions Pub back when he was on them. So some scary bats there. Young guys coming through, Landon Jasper, Kelby Johnson. And then having the top end arms. Ryan Duffy's always been good for them. Big lefty from St. Cloud State, the U of M. I do think they can make a good run at this, and I'm confident they'll be the 3 seed out of the Skyline, or out of the league. But, honestly, I think it was a coin flip as to whether they won it or we won it this year.
Sure.
Right. So they're my 3. And then going on from there, I think Freight has been good for so long, but the question is, how much can you rely on Graham Lobsher and Nick Morial to carry your pitching? When they're good, they're great. But I think you're one day away from your bats having to put up 4 or 5 runs and not winning a game in state.
Sure, absolutely. They have absolutely rode Graham every time I see Freight in the state tournament. And you know what? He's actually put them on their back for the most part. I mean, he's an absolute machine. But if you don't have the bats, it can be rough. Absolutely. So you got the Freight. You got them slotted in as your 4th team?
I do.
Okay.
And then to the chagrin of my Skyline friends, I got North St. Paul getting the 5.
The Snowmen.
Yeah,
Okay.
You have a little controversy with them, obviously.
I want to hear
a vote
it.
last week. They signed 2 ineligible players after June 30th, knowingly.
We read about that a little bit and kind of got some info on it. Signed guys past the deadline, and then there was a rain out, so doesn't count as a game.
Technically,
that was how that went down, or what more do you know about it?
Well, having some insider baseball on this, the league secretary who told them that they're not allowed to play with those guys is the manager of Stockman's Irish, who was banged last year for playing an ineligible guy.
Right.
So they're pretty hot right now at the NBA, which I think pushes them further in my rankings of what they're going to do. But North St. Paul made the final weekend last year. When they have their guys around, they are all very young. They can be really good. But the question is, how many guys can you get to show up in state? They'll have them in playoffs, and I think they'll take down, I think they'll slot in against probably the Hops or Rosetown out of the St. Paul League. But we'll kind of see where that goes, too.
Absolutely. Gotcha. Well, good. We got your 5. And this is it looks like you got a couple different host sites, McGuire Field, Red Haddocks, and then eventually McKnight Field, North St. Paul. So
I wasn't at the game down in the Jordan tournament, but as that state board meeting was going on, Stockman's was playing against Bird Island. So were they getting relayed
Nagel was there.
Yep, Nagel. Yeah, I know. So I'm just like, oh man, this is gonna get dicey.
Yeah, and it has. I think Twitter has gotten a little aggressive. I mean, there was some things said.
I will throw this out there, like on June 30th. If you can't sign a player after that, then take it off the website.
Yeah, don't even make it a possibility.
So
no, okay. So we got the 5 bids. Jack, you've done a great job for us, opening our eyes more to Class A, which we try to do. It's just, boy, it's such a different animal down there. Here's kind of an interesting question. As we've gotten more Class A teams into the mix, you got this. They've come out now a little bit further out west to come to these state host sites. Who are some teams that get a good following in Class A? Who do you say has like the best fan presence?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably 2 teams that come to mind. Meesville, just because it's a church bar and a ball field down there.
Yeah.
Their fans are super pumped up to go watch them, win in state.
Absolutely.
The other one for me is Chaska. They've been doing coach buses from their field and paying, the fans to pay $5 or whatever to go to the state tournament games.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. It's what you want to see.
Absolutely. And to be honest, both those teams are still kind of out of the Metro. Now I'm going to try to force you on this one. Is there a true Metro team that has maybe built a little bit of a following?
Yeah, I guess the big one for me out of traditional Class A would probably be Lions Pub. It's just a bunch of guys that love playing ball and drinking beer. So their fans are the same way.
Yeah, I think in 23 when we just had B and C, and the former A teams in the old loop, and when they were in B, I will say the players of the teams that either they were not playing that day or their team didn't make to the state tournament.
Sure.
You saw a lot of them around, so yeah. I really think they all support each other, or they go to heckle the other team too. So that's what's been, I think, really great about putting us all under one roof as the Class A guys. They do appreciate, hey, now we don't have to pay for parking. We can drink beer at a game that we didn't have to bring ourselves, and different hoops that had to be jumped through. And I can sense the appreciation level. Like, hey, now we're going to go to Chaska, Shakopee, Jordan, New Prague this year and support or boo the St. Anthony Hogs.
We got that vibe. We interviewed, I think I mentioned before, but Paul Melcher out of
St. Anthony guy.
St. Anthony guy. He definitely name dropped St. Anthony, but he also now he's with the oh gosh, I'm blanking on it. The
Mudcats.
Mudcats, not the Mudheads. Make sure it's the Mudcats. But I had asked him a question. It was kind of like, do guys is it inconvenient to make that trip out if say like in Dassel they're hosting? Does it feel like it's an inconvenience at all? And he said absolutely not. These guys get excited. They're enjoying the atmosphere at some of these other ballparks, and the disconnect between like a Class C team and a Class A team. Yeah, there's talent levels that mix, but the appreciation I think is mutual. We get to watch, like I said, I watched Graham Lobsher strike out 21 guys in a game.
Yeah.
And yet these freight guys they're wide-eyed because they see a crowd. They've got a big following. It's people coming out to watch the game, so it's mutual there, and I think that's super exciting, and I think it's super fun. If you're a town team fan, Class A ball is just high-level talent, and it doesn't get much better than that. It's super fun to track, and I would encourage everyone to come out and see a game, especially like a St. Anthony Hogs game. I mean, there's some electric players on that crew.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'd like if everybody got their hog wet.
Hashtag, there's got to be some hashtags there for sure. Hashtag Suey or something like that. So thanks again, Jack, for helping us with this, and we'll look forward to you kind of continuing to give us some information. Maybe as we get closer to the state tournament, we can reconnect and talk more on that.
Perfect. Well,
Sounds
thank you, boys.
good. Absolutely. You have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. See you. Bye.
All right. Bye.
And we're back. That was Jack Hagan. He covered all of Class A for us.
Awesome.
Great dude. A lot of knowledge there. Fun to talk to him, and we'll hopefully get to talk to him a little bit more in depth about his team and some of the other teams that he is close with throughout the season. But hey, we're gonna keep it rolling. We're going right into Class B.
All right, we are here with Kirby Hemish. I wanted to call you the mouth of the Stearns County, but maybe the sweet sound of the Stearns County, that rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
We've called him the Sultan of
Stearns County. Kirby, what are you up to today?
Oh, you're interrupting an action-packed morning of being the horse on a 3-year-old horseback ride, some breakfast. Been a morning. I'm really bummed to talk ball instead of, cleaning up hash brown bits off the floor, guys.
Well, that's what I was telling these guys. I go, I feel like if we get a hold of people right away on Saturday, they're not too deep into their day or they need a break from, wrangling kids. So Well, good. I'm glad to have you. We're going to bring you back later on to talk Region 8C, which you all are the expert of.
Yep.
But we need a 1B representative, and I'm technically Class B guy, and I think you can give us some maybe Cold Spring Springer insight. You might have to say something good about them. And then we can we'll just run through the rest of them. So we'll just start with the Cold Spring Springers. They're hosting District 1B as well. Are you even going to go to any games? Are you allowed to go to any games up there?
Coincidentally, their tournament at lovely Cold Spring Baseball Park, formerly Springer Park, is at the same time as Region 8C. So, I guess if I really wanted to push that divorce envelope with the missus when I did have time, I could go over to Springer and catch some ball. But no, it's going to be tough. And you guys live this life as well. And I think the Victory League kind of taught us all something with the split region between B and C, where it's like, oh, we don't get to watch that at this time of year. Where it's like, well, yeah, you got your own game, Right. So it's just so much awesome baseball going on at once. It's the people who sit on Game Changer and have 4 different games up at one time. It's like, yeah, I could see that, but no, unfortunately, I won't be able to get over there. But you talk about now. I mean, first things first, the defending Class B state champion manager is the B representative. Well done, Talking Tom Ball.
Unbelievable.
That's a nice little feather in the cap. But yeah, it's that region itself, or district, excuse me,
yep.
Or that's a section.
District
1B.
I'm still not amazed at how we changed the name of everything class by class.
Mm-hmm.
But you love the Springers, and then other than that, would you say it's wide open? I mean, there's Isanti's good, but they got some teams that are gonna, I would say, make some runs that people are gonna be like, huh, St. Joe, huh, Princeton. Yeah. I didn't see that coming.
Yep. So and St. Joseph's when we were all under the Class C umbrella, they were a regular in the state tournament. Cold Spring. I feel like years ago, Green Island, Arlington used to have a big Miller Lite invite tournament, 16 teams, and I think that was kind of the start of the prognosticator era, where the teams going deep in that were kind of like, oh, and then they started doing the rankings. I feel like that is a little bit turned into maybe the Jordan tournament. And they went 0-2 down there. Again, did they bring everybody? It's always hard to say. And
right.
It was a solid field, and somebody's got to go 0-2. But it's like, okay, what? And we actually play them tomorrow, so I'll be interested to see what they're bringing. But sure. It's funny, they could match up with Moose Lake or Princeton, and Princeton was in B last year, and they knocked out Plato with Reese Schwartz on the mound. And
right.
They're going to be
and so it's an absolute roll of the dice, yeah. And the Springers can hit it. But I'm not in love with what they got going on the mound. Watch them, right? Listen to this. And oh, Kirby, how about I show you a thing or two about my all-time winningest pitcher in amateur baseball history? But the Springers can still swing it. Schaefer's still knocking the crap out of the ball. He was like the silver slugger of the Class B tournament last year. They lost Brian Hansen, but they got some good young Ricori guys that kind of stepped in there as well. So I'd say they're probably the favorite. I mean, they're the 1 seed. Wow, bold prediction, Curb. But they've got some stuff. But like you said, when it goes to the tournaments and stuff, and hey, we beat a good team in that tournament. It's like, well, hold on now. Who had a wedding that weekend?
Right.
Who had a big game on Wednesday and they didn't throw their ace all weekend long,
right.
Type of deal. So you love the fact that they are going after it, but you don't really know until you get there.
Right.
Sure.
And I think Cold Spring last year they drafted Phil Bray from Isanti and used him a lot in the state tournament. Well, they don't get him for the districts because Isanti looks out of the Eastern Mini League that they're the 1 seed out of there, so they're on the bottom half of the bracket. So basically, it's going to be Cold Spring against Moose Lake or Princeton, St. Joseph's against Chisago Lakes. Chisago Lakes made state tournament a couple years ago in C. The mighty North Branch Nighthawks get Sauk Rapids, and then Albertville gets Isanti. Do you know anything about Sauk Rapids, though? I mean, they folded, but they folded after they had won a state championship. Anybody in your area playing with Sauk Rapids or no?
So the beauty of that team is, like you said, all those Class C runs, they get bumped up to B, and then they win it in B.
Yeah.
But like Pipcorns and Nisswa now, and like Scotty Geiger and those guys, they're not around anymore. I think they might have had like Nick Anderson on one of those teams.
Nick Anderson was on the championship team. Yeah.
Just a Major League Baseball pitcher.
Whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, no big deal. Oh, what's this guy got? But yeah, they so then they kind of disbanded. And then Sauk Rapids that's a 3A high school baseball school, so they probably got a bunch of guys that said, well, why not toss a team together? I know they got Noah Jensen on the mound, who can they'll keep him in games and stuff like that, and they got some young hitters, like the Henkemeyers aren't there anymore or anything like that, but they still got plenty of good talent. And so that's in B. When you look at it, I feel like that section gets disrespected a little bit, like oh, well, where's your big dogs and stuff like that. But I think they got some players, and like you said last year, Princeton beating Plato, like that's not nothing.
No,
right. And Cold Spring did make a run last year, and again, it looks like they get 3 bids, so you're going to have 7 or a couple different teams to maybe draft an arm from. There's going to be 2 or 3 of these teams that probably do have a top end pitcher that aren't going to make it, and that's the big kind of can be the game changer as well. So I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire and get predictions. I think we, historically we like Cold Spring. Isanti's pretty solid too in the last decade. And then
you like the team that has the most state tournament appearances in state history? Interesting.
Maybe I'll give them the nod, or should we just say, they're not going to make it? No, it's just I don't know. But like you said, I think it could be 3 teams we've spent about 3.5 seconds talking about. So, but and
if we here on Talking Town Ball provide inspiration to those 3.5 second teams, you're welcome.
Yep, you're right. Send me a plaque.
Material.
Yep, send me a plaque when you win a state championship. I know because I fueled the fire for you. So, all right, Kirby. Well, we're gonna give you a little break. You can clean up them hash browns, and then we'll bring you back here in a little bit to talk Region 8C. All right.
Works for me.
Sounds good. See you soon.
Yeah, and here's what we have for District number 2 here in Class B. This is an 8-team double elimination bracket. We're going to get 2 teams from the Classic Cannon Valley and 6 teams from the Twin Rivers League. Now, they did a little interesting this year, and we'll just throw out there, Red Wing and Austin are the hosts. They went with Classic Cannon Valley gets the 1 and the 3 seed. Twin Rivers gets the 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 seeds. So just what I've pulled off the state website, because they don't have it quite updated yet. Maybe there's some games this weekend. Red Wing will be the 1. Stewartville Racine, looks like they have the best record out of the Twins River, will be the 2. Northfield gets the 3 simply by default because they weren't ahead of Red Wing, and they are the Classic Cannon Valley. Then it looks like it would go in this order, and again, I could be wrong because I think there's a game or two to be played. The Austin Greyhounds looking at the 4, the Dodge County team with the 5, the Plainview Bucks as the 6, Winona as the 7, and Rochester as the 8. I think Winona and Rochester have very similar records, so that could go one way or the other. This is a pretty true but somewhat modified double elimination 8-team bracket. You go 3-0, you are the 1 seed. Nobody can come back and take that from you. And then the 2 left standing with 1 loss will play for the number 2 seed. I mean, if you want me to make a pick, I think it's kind of easy to go with Red Wing and Stewartville Racine. Right. I've seen them in a lot of the rankings, or at least the honorable mention. Haven't heard a whole heck of a lot about the Austin Greyhounds, but they are hosting some of these games, so you never know. When I was growing up, the Austin Greyhounds were, I don't want to say baseball royalty, but them and the Rochester Royals were always coming out of that section to get to the state tournament. So, other than that, the one thing about the Twin River League is slowly the last few years they have done a lot better job on social media. We still have a league or two out there that you can't find a lot of info about teams. They've really stepped their game up. So I do want to give them some recognition, and that Stewartville Racine team I think is going to be a state tournament contender. and take a bit away from, the traditional classic Cannon Valley League team. So, yeah, that's what I got for D2.
Awesome. Once again, those games are going to be hosted by Austin and Red Wing. So, fun games to go out and check out. And, Hayes, we appreciate the breakdown. All right, we are on to District 3B, and joining us today, Jackson Urich. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Is that right?
Close, not really, but Jurek is how we pronounce it.
Jurek.
Kind of a Czech pronunciation there. So
sure.
It's an effort.
I know some Uriks that are I think Silver Lake, very very Polish name. But let's hey, we got Jackson on. Jackson, just introduce yourself. You're new to the pod here. What's your role with the DRS League?
Yeah, so I run all of the DRS social media and then our website. So we really just kind of focus on Facebook, Twitter, or X, if you will, depending on what you want to call it.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And then our website, and that's kind of like our three main focuses, hitting the social media stuff. We do a live radio show at the beginning of the year, our hot stove show. So I kind of put all that together. A little bit of sponsorship stuff. I used to play for Vesely for the last 8 years before this summer. I lived in Mankato. I worked down here full time. And so that's kind of how I got involved with the position. And then after 3 years of driving back and forth and all that wonderful stuff, I was like, I got to find a different team. So now I play for Waterville, but I still do the DRS socials, and I still stay involved with the league quite a bit.
Oh, very cool, very cool. So you are full on social media manager for the DRS. That's perfect because you probably have to track a lot of scores. You know matchups pretty well. We can just jump right into District 3B. It's a fun group of teams. You've got some very, I would say I see a heavy favorite out there. I see a really good Class C team from last year that got bumped to B. Let's just jump into it, top to bottom. Do you want to kind of just go through some of these teams that we're seeing? You don't have to make any predictions, but it'd be nice to kind of understand each team a little bit more.
Yeah, so we can start with, District 3B is going to be a double elimination playoff bracket, but before they start that, there's going to be two rounds, I guess, or I guess not rounds, but two best-of-3 series between four teams. Montgomery is the 7 seed and Shakopee is the 10, and then St. Benedict, America's team, as the 8, and Lonsdale Aces as the 9 seed. So, Montgomery is a team that a few years ago won the DRS, was the 1 seed, and then had to face Waconia's Bezdechek in the state tournament where he threw a no-hitter against them. So Montgomery knows how to win, but they're kind of in a rebuilding phase. Johnny Krochak is one of the best players that I've ever had the opportunity and ability to play against. Hasn't been a part of them as much this year, kind of just getting older. We all know how that is, as I say that, but I'm 26, so a little bit younger there. But
young buck.
Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to see. Montgomery's still a team, that can make some noise, but knows how to win. We'll see what they do in this year's District 3B playoffs. Shakopee, the other team, they're kind of in a tough situation. So obviously, Shakopee Indians, the Class A team in Shakopee, usually snags a lot of the better players, if you will, out of Shakopee. But the Coyotes have really turned it around this year, in my opinion, in the last couple of years. Their record doesn't show it. I think they have a couple wins this year, recently just winning against St. Benedict in 10 innings. But they took Jordan to the wire. I think they lost 5-3, and Jordan's a perennial Class B team. Mm-hmm. So the Coyotes, and a lot of people have said this, even on Vesely, which I know we'll touch on in 12C, but they're turning it around, and they're a much better team, and it's fun to watch. So it'll be an interesting matchup for sure. I think the Coyotes can push it to 3, but I do think Montgomery takes it just because of the knowledge and the being there before. Then you look at the next matchup, St. Benedict Saints and the Lonsdale Aces. Lonsdale, a team that's played a lot of good baseball, but kind of on the short end of the stick in a lot of matchups. A lot of 1-2-run losses this year. St. Benedict Saints, they're a weird team. Sometimes they can, they beat Webster 10-0. And Webster, that's one of their 3 losses in the DRS this year, and the other 2 are Class A teams. And then they lose to Webster 10-0. So it's kind of interesting because St. Benedict, a team that can beat a top 5 team in the state, and then can get 10 run by them, the next week.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be good matchups. But if I had to pick 2, I do think both of these series go 3 games. But I'm going to take Montgomery and St. Benedict out of the best of 3 series.
Sure.
And that kind of solidifies our double elim bracket, which I'm going to be honest, guys, this is probably one of the hardest districts in all of B to determine who's going to come out of here.
Right.
Webster and Jordan, I would say, are my 2 locks. But after that, it's a coin flip in anyone's game.
Okay.
Webster was winners of 17 or 18 straight before they ran into Faribault and Newmarket and lost both of those games, which are 2 Class A teams. All 3 teams are very good teams in the DRS.
Mm-hmm.
Newmarket getting a bye, I believe, into the second round of Section 1A. But I think Webster against St. Benedict gets it done. I know they're 1-1 against them this year, so I would take Webster round 1. Peter Twitey is probably one of the best players in the DRS. An absolute stud. I know he had Tommy John surgery last year, and now he's firing on all cylinders. They're a team that can hit the ball very well. Definitely should see them Labor Day weekend, if not on Labor Day Monday. But for sure expect them to make a run.
Absolutely.
Next game down in the bracket, Union Hill and Prior Lake. Probably one of the most intriguing matchups in this playoff. Prior Lake beat Union Hill both times this year in the regular season.
Okay.
And in both, I want to say, 1-run games. So I think that Union Hill does beat Prior Lake in this game, but I do think it's going to be close. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Prior Lake did beat Union Hill. The Mudcats are a very good team. They went to state last year. Union Hill, a very good team. They know how to win. They've been there before in late August. So it'll be interesting to see. That one's a coin flip. I'm taking Union Hill in a 1.5 run spread if we're placing bets.
Okay. Yeah,
going down the line, LeSueur, the Braves, the runner-up last year in Class C against Eagle Lake Expos. If you can lean on Feeney in that game, it's going to be tough to beat. The whole reason they made it to the state championship last year was because of him. I got to cover him in high school because of my work.
Okay.
An absolute stud on the mound. And I do think LeSueur wins that, but Eagle Lake no pushover with the Work brothers there.
Okay. Yeah, we've seen that a couple times. You get these Class C teams that went deep. We're going to talk about the Piers Lakers last year that won the state tournament. They're going to be battling in the Victory B. Kind of same story for LeSueur. You go deep, and then you find yourself in B, and now you're battling in one of the most toughest districts in the state. So, good luck to the Braves.
So I have a question here. It looks like all the games are at the high seed, and I know your social media. Do you know what went into that, and why there is no main host, or was it kind of like Jordan's the obvious choice, but they're hosting state tournament, but Union Hill would be just fabulous to host something like this. But do you know what went into that?
Yeah, so it actually was a vote. I didn't have a vote in on it. All the teams did. It was just the teams making that decision. So it was just an email, and it was actually really close. I guess I could maybe pull it up here real quick.
Oh, you don't have to do that. So,
it was one of those things where the main decision that it was split up pretty evenly amongst the 8 teams. I want to say it was 4-3 and 4-3 and 1 or something that it was. So it was interesting to see how all of them kind of voted, and they all voted on that.
Okay.
So, which I like. I do think maybe there is the people like to say okay, if you haven't hosted a section, district, region home game yet in the playoffs, then you get it. But I do think the high seeds should be the home team through and through the tournament. I think that's just the best way that it should be put together, and the fans deserve that as well.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you've got, you covered LeSueur, Eagle Lake. Now, Jordan, they're going to end up facing, I think you mentioned, oh gosh.
Yeah,
in his
Montgomery.
Yeah.
Montgomery. Okay, so you got Jordan and Montgomery.
Yeah, so the nice part, if, these teams, St. Benedict or Lonsdale or Montgomery or Shakopee, obviously my pick being Montgomery and St. Benedict, but if they can get it done in 2, you can maybe get your ace to that Sunday game.
Sure.
So Jordan, obviously, cream of the crop. When we first started the 2026 season, a lot of people were wondering what the heck's going on with Jordan. Why are the Brewers struggling so much? And then they go and win their host tournament. And I think they won 20 of 22 or 19 of 21 or something like that. And just completely shut everyone up. And we're like, we're not going anywhere. We're still the Jordan Brewers. We're still going to be here every single year. And they easily, in my opinion, can get it done in game 1 on that Sunday. So the funny part about this is the RBL teams wanted to play at 6 o'clock, where the DRS teams play at 2. So if you're a fan of baseball and you're around in the area, Webster to Jordan isn't far at all.
No.
And neither is, Union Hill to LeSueur. So if you're a fan of baseball and you want to catch some good baseball, Jordan and Webster aren't that far apart, and those two teams should be playing Labor Day weekend or late into August. But I'm taking Jordan over Montgomery in that game.
Perfect.
Well, in this district, like we said, there's 4 bids, and you kind of said that Jordan and Webster are your locks for 2 of them. If you had to pick 2 more to fill it out, who would you pick?
Ooh, that's tough.
We're putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bias, you would say, like, okay, go pick your 2 DRS teams.
Sure.
But LeSueur can definitely play some good baseball. I think they get the 3 or the 4 seed. And then it's really between Union Hill and Prior Lake, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I would probably say Union Hill. When they're on, they're on. So I would say, like, my picks are Webster, Jordan, Union Hill, and LeSueur as the reigning Class C runner-up.
Some really good picks there. Yeah, good teams coming out of District 3B, and get 4 of them out there, and that'll be fun games to track. Now, who you obviously are covering the socials. Do you have any? Do you have any radio? Do you have anybody that follows DRS? Do you have any media outlets?
Yeah. So our biggest partner, I guess you could say, is KCHK K-Check. Adam Bartles over there being the sports director. Him and I have called a couple games together. A lot of our playoff games will be on KCHK, just a local, New Prague radio station just outside of New Prague, actually, in between New Prague and St. Patrick.
And that's FM, AM, FM?
Yep, FM, 95.5 FM. Don't ask me about AM, I couldn't tell you that.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of where a lot of our playoff games will be. Not all of them, obviously, but sometimes they'll split them up, one on the FM, one on the AM dials. And the nice part about KCHK being there is they do cover a lot of RVL games. Jordan's in the vicinity, LeSueur's there, Belle Plaine is there, which I know we'll get to in a little bit. So it's nice because, District 3B and Region 12C are made up of the RVL and the DRS. So we kind of got lucky and have the ability to cover both leagues.
Absolutely. Super cool. Thanks again, Jackson. We're actually going to hold you for a little bit. We're going to get you back here for Region 12C. So take a break, and we'll be right back with you.
Perfect.
And we are now on to District 4B. And joining us to cover District 4B is Rick Gramman. Rick, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks, guys.
Doing well. Rick, you're joining us now. You've covered the Victory League. Can you kind of give us just a little background to how long you've been covering the league and who you're with up there?
I've been doing this for 38 years, so I've seen them come and go pretty good since 1988. So seen a lot of good baseball teams over the years, and We've been fortunate to win a number of state titles. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I about in 2013, I was with a regular local radio station, and I decided to branch out on my own, and now I since 2013 run my own online audio only streaming company where I carry all the games. So
very cool.
That's been quite an adventure.
Absolutely, yeah. I've been tracking it a little bit. It sounds like you've been streaming quite a bit of town ball this year.
Oh yeah, yep. I'll by hopefully Labor Day. Everybody's goal is to get to Labor Day. It'll be upwards of probably 60 to 70 games.
Wow, that's really impressive. That is super impressive. Yeah, we'll be listening for it because I don't know. We kind of have a running joke here. The Victory League, they just find ways to win in the playoffs, and it's a fun league to cover. And I'm sure you're enjoying yourself. We want to know more.
Yeah, it's a huge league. It's the biggest league in the Minnesota Baseball Association, consisting of 20 teams, and it's, I don't know if it's the largest geographical range. Some of those teams from up north have to, the Dilworths and Bemidji's and those they have to travel quite far for their games, but we stretch basically from I-94 to the Iron Range with basically Freeport, right off I-94 and Avon all the way up to Aiken. So, yeah, some teams have some road trips to take when those two teams match up. So.
Absolutely. So, as we dive into it, I mean, you want to cover the Class B, and I mean, obviously, there's some electric teams, and geographically, we want to talk more about where are these games being played, who's a favorite. I mean, I'm going to let you take the reins.
Well, it was interesting this year because over the winter, when we had our Victory League meeting in December, we got together and we looked at the schedule, and we saw that Labor Day is late this year, so there's actually a 3-week gap here, whereas in years past, we've squeezed our region or district tournaments, depending on the class, into 2 weeks. But now with that extra week, I guess a lot of the big wigs, front office people got together and said, what if we merge the two tournaments together, share the revenue, draw bigger crowds, let fans see, if they were Class B fans, we're still quite local,
Right.
A lot of these teams have connections with other fans and stuff. And so, you see the St. Wendell's and the Opols that normally would have been playing in Avon regularly. Well, now with the B and C split, those teams don't meet anymore. So you get those fan bases together once again, kind of like it used to be. So we've merged the two tournaments, and we'll have 4 different sites over 3 weekends, combining both C and B games every day. We had a B and a C game last night. We'll have 2 C games and a B game today, and then tomorrow 2 B games and a C game. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So Rick, this will air here on Tuesday. So we will have a couple of games that were underway. This is Ryan, by the way.
Hey, Ryan.
Out of Delano. So it looked like St. Wendell and Opal played last night, and I was following Avon and Piers. Who ended up winning that Avon Piers game?
Piers won that one 5-4.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so and maybe we can run down B here, but yeah, I do love this setup. Now that you're saying it, you do it over 3 weekends and you bring, both B and C together. It's like, dang it, that's genius.
It is smart. I'm sitting.
You guys are always ahead of everybody else a little bit.
The North Star League. Just to touch on it, when we get to the region and district tournament, it's basically a split in the road. It's a league split down the middle. You force a lot of people in media to cover certain games, and that can be frustrating.
One place, yeah, it can.
I'm sure we'll talk to more media members here in this episode that will probably be a little bit frustrated that their league is split that way. But
so Rick, we'll run down 4B here, and like you said, Piers Lakers with the win. So I mean, they win one. They're
the defending Class C champs. So.
Yeah, and so it looks like Buckman won. And they get St. Stephen's, the 8 seed. Now, wasn't St. Stephen's in state last year?
They won a region last year.
Yeah, they won your region last, and they're the
I think
eighth
they won
seed
like
this year.
they won one game all last year in the regular season.
Okay,
and then got hot and won the region and went to state. And they kind of did it again this year. They won a couple of games.
Okay,
I think they went 3-11.
All right.
So
that's not an easy league to navigate.
No.
So you can.
But Buckman has been on a tear, so that should be a really good game this afternoon.
Yep, and then like we said, Avon and Piers. Piers won that one. That was the 4-5 game. Avon being the 4. Now, is Avon still as good as they kind of were the last few years? I mean, I know they're hosting state, and when you have that looming, you're really trying to build up for that year. You don't want to miss it when you're hosting, and it's always tough to navigate.
They're part of the host next year.
Yep.
And they've kind of had a little bit of a roster transition. They have started to draw in more players from the St. Cloud metro area.
Okay.
A lot of the St. Cloud Cathedral, St. Cloud Tech players have kind of found their way to Avon now, whereas maybe some of those former Albany high school kids are now playing Stearns County League ball with St. Martin or Farming. Mm-hmm. So it's a different look for Avon now. Only a handful of actual Albany kids are on that roster now, so it's a different Avon looking team.
Okay, gotcha. That makes a little bit of sense. Down at the bottom bracket, you have 2 seed Nisswa. They took second in Class B last year, and they get Fort Ripley. If you want to touch on Nisswa, I don't think there's too many people that Nisswa is going to sneak up on. I'm guessing they still got Rudisilli and Jenkins and Peepcorn and Duchesne, and that lineup is pretty tricky to navigate. But what's Fort Ripley like this year?
Well, Fort Ripley is a team that has kind of also undergone a transition. A lot of the familiar names aren't there anymore that we've seen growing up watching Fort Ripley Rebel baseball. But they've played better in the last month or so than they did, the first couple of months. They actually swept Foley, twice this year. Foley was a state tournament team this year. Not only swept them, but they shut them out twice, 4-0 and 8-0.
Wow.
So don't sleep on Fort Ripley. They've got a nice pitcher in Jack Schaefer. And they've still got a few veterans: Alex Hopajoki, Nick Gelasi, Brett Kramer, Bill Sather. So they got some familiar names, but they've also got a young catcher named Wyatt Gabrielson that's really going to be an outstanding player in the Victory League. So they've got some talent, and it's a team you don't want to sleep on if you're Nisswa.
Okay, and that one looks like Sunday, 10:30 a.m., so you better get to 8 a.m. Mass before you get to the ballpark.
Yep, there you go. Yep.
Is that Uppsala? They're hosting that one?
Yep, gotcha. All 3 games Saturday, Uppsala, 3 games Sunday in Uppsala.
Oh, fabulous,
cool.
Fabulous. And the last 2 matchup we haven't talked about, so you have Sobieski, the 3, Foley, the 6, Foley State Tournament team. Sobieski, very historic, basically decade, and then we haven't seen the name pop up as much recently. Are they a team you think can crack into the state tournament for Class B and make a little noise?
Well, I think so. Sobieski's in the unique situation where they've been Class B longer than all these other teams because they have the success points, and they've been playing Class B tournament ball now for 5-6 years, right? Whereas everybody else is in their first or second year in Class B. So they know how it goes. They don't have to go up to Moorhead and face the
Brewers, the Mudcats,
or the Brewers, or they don't have to go to Hamel, or any of those other places they were sent to in their old days. Now they're very happy that it's more inclusive to them. They always said that, God, we miss going to the old region tournament, when they were part of basically the Victory League family, because our regions, our districts are all league inclusive. There's no teams from outside of league. Everything is Victory League. So
no, it's the way it should be. And I remember I brought it up at a state board meeting when Sobieski was in B which is now a bunch of Class A teams, and I'm like, is this sustainable for teams so they can't just keep reloading and compete with the teams up in Moorhead per se. So I am glad to see them, and they're a team you just look forward to in the state tournament. So that's good.
Well, they're just a traditional town team ball club. It's literally what town team ball is. They're Little Falls kids, and they just had a magical run for a decade there, and it cost them their Class C status, but they won't trade their 2 championships for it. I'll tell you that.
Oh, absolutely not. Banners hang forever.
Yeah.
So Rick, let's get right into the nitty gritty of it. We've got you on here. We're gonna have you make picks right now. We've got 5 seeds. Who do you think's coming out of 4B, and maybe who's on the outside looking in?
Oh boy, 4B. If I would to take my 5, I got to go Buckman.
Yep.
I think Sobieski, Nisswa, and then I'll go Pierce Lakers because they just got the pitching. I think to get them through, and that leaves
Avon,
St.
Foley.
Stephen, Avon, Foley, and Fort. I will pick Foley as my 5th team.
Wow. Okay, we love it. The 6 seed
in some order.
Absolutely. And who do you think?
Foley's getting some guys back that have played Northwoods League ball now.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, they've got a couple of guys that haven't played all year, and guys that play Northwoods Ball League don't have to get their 4 games in. Mm-hmm. So Foley goes 3-11, during the season, but now they're fully stocked. So that's a team also that don't sleep on them.
Yeah, don't sleep on it. They're going to get an injection of talent here at the end of the year. Good to hear.
Logan Winkleman, Josiah Peterson, couple of names. Yeah,
some good names there. I guess teams on the outside looking in. You didn't mention who. Maybe which one of those could potentially disrupt.
St. Stephen, I think. St. Stephen is the team just because of what they did last year.
Right.
They've had problems, and for a variety of reasons, of getting their guys to show up for games on a week-in, week-out basis. They just have never been able to fully get their full roster together. When they do, look out.
Right.
But they've got guys that are playing Northwoods League ball, and then just for whatever reason, they just haven't put their top 9 guys on the field. So if that happens over these next 3 weekends, I could see St. Stephen sneaking in there. St. Stephen made the same road last year. They faced Buckman and knocked him off in the first round last year, and that kind of jump-started their run to the our district title. So
perfect.
We'll see. That's the 1:00 game today, and that's the St. Stephen Buckman.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're gonna have you stick around. We're gonna get you back around here for the 9C discussion. So we'll rejoin you here in just a moment.
All right, and we are here with Brandon Johnson, who is from Detroit Lakes, but he is going to be here today helping us talk about District 5B, and then later on 4C and 11C, a couple of regions in Class C. Now, before we bring you in, Brandon, you and I have been talking back and forth with Roseau manager Nathan Vole because their bracket is kind of set. It looks like Bluffton is the 1 seed, and they are going to get the 2 seed out of the northwest border, which will be Roseau and Bemidji. They are playing at the time of recording, so they're going to get the loser of that one. The winner of that Bemidji-Roseau game then gets Fergus Falls. So, Brandon, how you been doing? What have you been up to? And then, we can jump into this 4-team bracket where we're only going to get 1 state bid.
Wonderful. Thanks again for having me guys back. I hope your listeners are not annoyed with me. We've talked about time. But I enjoy what you guys do, and I'm just grateful to kind of offer some perspective of the North. Yeah, it's been a busy summer, coaching baseball, playing baseball, and now kind of winding down. But this is the best time of the year, right? Make sure those NSPN contracts and all that memberships are ready to go, and you're ready to watch some baseball for the next month.
Absolutely. Yeah, good to have you back, recurring guest Brandon Johnson. You've got 4 teams now. We've kind of talked about this during the year, but this district is probably one of the most intriguing districts or any playoff situation.
Least amount of teams most talked about with 1 seed coming out of. It's just a bloodbath. You got 4 teams enter and 1 team is gonna walk away. Let's have you dive into it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't talk obviously matchups with the changes out there, but team by team, Bluffton is the perennial team out of the high 10. They get the 1 seed out of here. They just have a wealth of talent. They're kind of one of those teams that are actually kind of seeing that they get so good that they lose guys, as they have the Dykoff brothers. Now, Jake, the pitching brother, if you will, is actually in the Orioles organization, so they won't have him, obviously, so off doing that. But from my understanding, I've heard murmurs that Josh is back, who just got to enjoy a College World Series run with Kansas. So
that's the text from Nathan Vold,
Yeah.
So they win today, they're the 1, they lose, they're 2, but Josh Dykoff back for Bluffton, uphill climb either way. Short and sweet.
It's a big hill to climb.
Yep. I mean, and I think honestly, he may not pitch at Kansas, but I have a hunch he could step on a mound at Terry Geyser Field and throw an inning or two and be just fine. So, Bluffton's good. We got to go play them this year, and they're just a good, solid team. They do it the right way. They've had consistent, good leadership. In many ways, I think that they're I think there's a burner out there that says Bluffton is town ball or something like that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Not wrong.
I kind of giggle. In a lot of ways, it's kind of a poster child, right? Extremely small town. You have literally a bar. I don't even know if there is a church in Bluffton, and a few houses, and then this beautiful baseball field that's named after a man that's given 50 plus years to it. And him and his sons have worked extremely hard to help area baseball. So it's just it's what it should be, and it's fun to see them be successful. But they're also in Class B because of that success. So
yeah, I on our way up to the shindig last year, I stopped at the field and took a couple pictures in Bluffton. And I'm like, yep, this is town team. This would be a town team baseball on a Sunday afternoon. So, yeah,
it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, and then like I said, whoever they face up with out of the Northwest border, Bemidji's a solid group, very veteran led, but their veterans are a good tight group. They're a lot of fun. They don't take themselves too serious, but they take the game serious enough. So they do well. Their unfortunate issue is when they get to playoffs, there's just been kind of a weird bug the last couple of years that seems to bite them right towards the end, and it's been sad to see. So hope to see good stuff for Basil and the boys up there. Nathan and Rozo up there, the Royals, they are a solid group. They are led by, again, a family of Wenslofs, and they're a lot of fun. They're not all brothers, there's cousins. I got to hang out with them quite a bit last August, being drafted by them, and learn all those dynamics and the nicknames. And that's just, they just have an amazing culture. And I've said that for years. I've complimented Nathan on that. But everybody shows up and they're all in on the team. They play such an unselfish breed of baseball, and their offensive strategy, they're going to go score runs. It's just when their pitching shows up and takes care of business, they're a hard team to beat. And then Fergus Falls, again, a veteran-led team, but they got some young guys coming through. They're led, again, pitching-wise, a few guys in their 30s. But again, a few younger guys that have come through, played at places like University of Minnesota, Duluth, Toston, Man, guys like that are offensively they're going to hit. And again, I mean, it's one of those things where you show up to play, and it's a guy that, again, I played against in college pitching, and he's still going to throw a 12-6 curveball that seems to break 4 feet. And when he hits, he's going to find a way to put one over the fence. I mean, Darren Stanislawski is a pretty darn good ball player and been doing this for a long time, but they also have a good youth influx. So those 4 teams, Bluffton, Rozo, Bemidji, Fergus, but they're battling for one. This has got to be the best tournament of the entire state, but unfortunately it's going to happen in an instant.
So I think we would be in agreement. Bluffton is the favorite, yet I feel like Rozo, Bemidji, and Fergus Falls. I know Rozo and Fergus Falls were in the state tournament last year. Correct me if I'm wrong about Bemidji. So the favorite seems to be Bluffton, yet they haven't been to the state tournament. They didn't go to the state tournament last year, so they probably pretty hungry though.
And that's what's crazy is this district was goofy last year, but it's changed actually. Ada dropped out of it. Dilworth went up to Class A. Rozo moved up to B. So there's been a lot of changes in movement. Bluffton wasn't playoff eligible last year. So that was their reason for not. But yeah, Rozo was in the Class C tournament. Fergus Falls won this district last year with Ada won this district last year with Fergus Falls being the number 2 out of it. But yeah, I would say if I had to pick, it's hard to pick against Bluffton. I have just the utmost respect. That's been a team that I've watched and been a rival with for decades, if you will. So I have the utmost respect. But again, any one of these teams can give them a run for the money. This is just the beauty of baseball. It's one weekend of baseball, and I think pitching depth we can say it about any tournament, and it's cliche, but this is the one tournament that pitching depth and then the managers managing their pitchers will probably play the biggest role, having this double elimination tournament happen in one weekend.
Right. I mean, I look at the Bemidji Fergus Falls matchup. You're looking at a 130. The loser of that
Potential.
The loser of that one has to get ready for the game that's going to be probably a half an hour later.
Both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you lose game one, you're playing later that day.
Right. Right.
And as Brandon, are these games all at Bluffton? I thought you had mentioned maybe before we hit record about some help from New York Mills or Perham too.
Yeah, so if, there's no lights in Bluffton, I want to say yet, but they don't have lights there. So if they run into, obviously, weather, things like that, New York Mills is very helpful. Again, pretty much the high 10 teams, if you will, New York Mills. Perm as well, if need be, but the Region 11C tournament is happening in New York Mills and Perm, so that schedule's flexible to also help accommodate 5B if need be.
Perfect. Good. And then, before you can stay in the garage. Tell, wife and kids they got to leave you alone because we're going to get a hold of you here, in a little bit, but you don't have to go back inside. But quick 30-second update on the ball field in Detroit Lakes.
They're working on it. The grandstands have been ripped open. There's new cement poured underneath. The dugouts have been ripped out. The concession stand, it is bare bones. There's a baseball field with a skeleton of a grandstand. But if you squint real hard, you can see a lot of improvement. So yeah, I'll actually post some pictures here this week. I've kind of been meaning to anyways, but it's coming along on schedule. Unfortunately, we're going to be without home. I would say that home for one more year. For Detroit Lakes, but with me coaching in Lake Park Audubon, we're going to probably look to play home games in Audubon, which is our home field for Lake Park Audubon. Is Road Warriors is tough, and it's been tough for us to get good solid commitment to be on the road 14 times this summer. So
yeah.
Well, good stuff.
All right. Well,
we'll get you back here for some Class C talk, and so just chill out in that garage a little bit longer.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we are now here with Kip Kovar of the Herald Journal. He covers the Crow River Valley League and the North Star League, and each one has their own district, and each league has their own region. So we are going to jump in, and we're going to talk District 6B, then we're going to go right to 7B, and then we'll bring Kip back on later for 6C and 7C. Kip, you just said you were got done working at the golf course. You doing you the bev cart person, or you what's your role there?
I wish that'd be a little bit more enjoyable with the heat the last couple of weeks, but no, ground crew. But yeah. I am smart about it. I get up at 4:30 and I get out before it gets super hot, so I got that going for me at least.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Sounds good. All right. Well, we're gonna jump into District 6B. That is hosted up at Maple Lake. That is 6 North Star League teams with St. Martin out of the Stearns County. St. Martin comes in as the 1 seed. They played, I think, everybody in the North Star League, the B teams, once, and those games counted as either 2 wins or 2 losses. So they came out of that the 1 seed, but then we have Hamel-Loretto matchup, 4-5 game. The 3-6 is Hutch Maple Lake, and then the 2-7 is Buffalo and Kimball. How much coverage have you been able to do to some of those teams, and who are we liking going through the matchups?
Yeah, it's been a little bit different compared to the Crow River Valley League. Just so much has to go into that with doing the stats and stuff. But Loretto's kind of one of our immediate teams with our Delano paper, and then obviously everyone plays each other, so you get to see a bunch of them. But it'll be interesting. It kind of reminds me of District 7 last year in the Crow, where you have maybe 4 or 5 teams that feel like they should be in it, but only 3 of them are going to go. So there's definitely going to be some drama associated with it, kind of like last year in the Crow. But St. Martin's interesting. The 10-0 in league play looks pretty great, but when a lot of those wins count for 2, how much can you kind of take that for granted? But they've certainly earned the top seed, so it'll be interesting to see how they kind of handle that. And getting the bye is kind of nice too. You just don't have to worry about that. You're right into that second round game. You can throw your ace and not have to worry about it. But Hutch is really good. Maple Lake as a 6 seed is just kind of insane to think about. They'd probably be a 2 or 3 in just about any other region. last year they had their injury bug and everything. Seems like this year people are back on track, and kind of everyone just kind of beat up on each other. And when you get to this time of year, it's just clutch hitting and good pitching. So it's going to be kind of fun to see who matches up with who throughout and how that all kind of plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. You said Maple Lake, the injury bug. I think this year more, it's just been kind of an inconsistency. I think that's what they've been kind of saying. You've got games where they're really on and they look kind of like that former state tournament winner, but there are days where they can trip up and they can lose against, anybody, to be honest. So that is absolutely the truth. You talked about St. Martin a little bit. It is interesting. They had these teams play each other once. So, I mean, it was big for these Class B teams to put all they could up against St. Martin. And for them to go undefeated, that's pretty impressive. They had a pretty big target on their back all year.
Yeah, especially being kind of the new kids on the block here. You're not seeing a guy like if it's Hutch versus Buffalo, you're not seeing a guy that you've faced 3 or 4 times over the last few years. You're getting maybe a unique arm that you haven't seen. That's maybe a little bit of advantage to St. Martin is you don't really as familiar that as those North Star leagues are with each other. So it's kind of interesting to see when that new wrinkle gets thrown in every year of teams coming and leaving regions and districts.
Yeah, 100%. You know, a team that was kind of newer to our league, Hamel, they've really come out of I don't know. I think the roster has really been shaken up the last year. Their first year in the North Star League, they weren't super competitive, but they're a different team this year. They've got a matchup against Loretto. What do you see out of that matchup?
Yeah, if you want to call them dark horses, those are your two in this district. The ceiling is pretty high for both those teams, but they can also have a pretty low floor. So that big difference of that is kind of going to be interesting. And of course, they're going to square off against each other in the first round. You know, Loretto's had a very up and down season. They didn't really start playing any games till June. They didn't have a game on the schedule in May and kind of started on fire. And then maybe have come back to the pack a little bit here down the stretch. But, you know, there's some young guys that have been out and about, haven't had maybe the full roster there as much as they want to. But this is the kind of time of year where you're going to start seeing your best 9 guys show up, and then you're going to have those couple extra guys on the bench ready to make an impact as well. So Loretto's always that kind of team where they could be under 500 heading into the playoffs, and I still feel like they're going to have a chance to kind of make a run. It's just kind of what they've done over the past
how they
few
operate.
years.
Yeah, I think they have enough veteran-type players that, you know, if they're there, mixed in with their young core, would probably give a slight advantage to. But, you know, both teams, in my opinion, could be a wild card and could then knock off St. Martin the very next day, because Hamel's young, very athletic, very talented, but when you do get to these playoffs, you win with veterans, and then your young guys, you know, can kind of, you know, pick up a little bit of the slack, or anything you get from them can be extra. So I think that's what Loretto's got going for them. Like you said, they'll bring all their guys. So then, you know, move down to Hutch and Maple Lake. And Maple Lake, it sounds like maybe some of the guys they grabbed last year aren't showing up as much for them. The non-Maple Lake guys, but, you know, if Hunter's throwing and he's at, you know, full effect, then yeah, he's going to give Hutchinson problems. So, you know, what are you looking at? What do you think for that matchup?
Yeah, Hutch is always the team that I feel when I put in my rankings, like if I do put them in my top 10, it seems right, but if I leave them out, it just feels wrong. They're just always a steady team. You know, they're going to bring a talented group, and they're going to play hard, and they're going to find this way to keep themselves in games all the time. And Maple Lake is kind of, everyone calls it the death taxes of Maple Lake this time of year, kind of like Loretto, where that calendar flips to August, which it did today. It's going to be an impressive group out there, and it'll be interesting because you'll go back to St. Martin being the one. Like, the bye is great, but maybe sometimes getting that first game in and having that little momentum going into that game in the second round, if you can pull off, is kind of what you need. Or that rest versus rust. Obviously, you'll take the bye and be in a state qualifier right out of the gate, but maybe it's not bad for one of the Hutchinson Maple Lake teams to kind of play a game, get a win under their belt, and then go after that state tournament bid.
Yeah, so you've got Maple Lake obviously playing in front of the hometown crowd. Maple Lake, you know, they travel well, but they bring the people out to the home games too. Do you think there's a nice little advantage there to have that home game?
Yeah, I think so. But then there's also the other hand of you're hosting it. There's a lot that goes into this week ahead of it, and there's a lot that goes on through the weekend. temperature cooperates. So there's that aspect of it too, where it's the tough balance of you're in a comfortable setting in front of your fans, but you got a lot of work to do when you're not playing some baseball as well.
Yeah, and they are their first game of the day. Then right after them will be Kimball Buffalo. I throw it out there too, and we've had some Crow River Valley or even District 7 meetings, and it doesn't really work out. But I've kind of like, it would always be a really cool idea if the host you based the games on when having the host open the tournament. So like say, Maple Lake Hutch, you do that one on Friday. Does it work out, when you have a team with a bye? Not really, but, and then you kind of look at our District 7. And we did luck out. Young America gets a Friday night game, but you're kind of like hoping, okay, let's have YA open this thing on a Thursday night, or they get the Friday night game. But sometimes that Saturday 1 o'clock can be a little tricky because you're working the night before, and then you got to get back up and go to the ballpark for kind of an early game.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of really agree with that point where you're putting in all this work, maybe get rewarded, pick that slot you want to play. First one, obviously you can't pick each round, but it's happened. Like I got a stat for you later on when we get to the Crow about how hard it is to host and
absolutely.
We might have lost you for a moment there.
Can you hear me, Kip?
Hello?
Kip, can you hear us?
Yep.
All right, we'll edit out that.
We'll clean that one.
Yeah. So
last year when we played Hutch at Hutch in the state tournament, instead of playing them on a Friday night, we played them Saturday first game, and I think that gave us a huge advantage. So, yeah, we'll touch about that stat on later. But then the last game of the first round, Kimball and Buffalo. I think Kimball has really struggled this year. It'd be a hard time picking against Buffalo in that one, and then you're only having to win one more to get to the state tournament. Have you seen Buffalo at all this year?
Yeah, I saw them against Loretto, and it's line drive. They are 1-9, maybe one of the best lineups I've seen in person this year, and maybe a little bit of a chip on their shoulder with being in A last year, and we're actually starting this season in A until they got the clearance to come back to B. So Buffalo's definitely on my radar of teams not only to kind of come out of that our district, but also kind of to make a big push in Labor Day weekend.
Absolutely, and you mentioned new kids on the block. Kimball's first year in the North Star League. I think a couple things are working against them. Some of I'd say their best player on their roster, Cade Marcourt, is playing independent ball, and that's going to hurt. You lose a guy like that, especially in a position of importance at like catcher. It's going to hurt you. So the Fighting Marcourts out of Kimball, they've got an uphill climb with a Buffalo matchup, and I mean, honestly, in that second round, losing, you end up seeing Hutchinson or Maple Lake. It's a tough road, but yeah, I think Buffalo. We had the opportunity to play in Buffalo this year, and like you said, 1 through 9, it's an offensive juggernaut, and if they can get through the district here, 6B. You only have 3 teams making it. There's going to be some really, really solid arms that are going to be available.
And I want to point out why the seedings are very important, because if they're going to have 3 0-1 teams after Saturday. The one with the highest seed technically gets a loser's bracket bye. So you could lose your first game, and then your second, you get a bye, and then you're playing your third, technically second game, which is most teams' third game, then the following Saturday. Right. So that's what's unique. So Kip, what feet to the fire? 3 teams you think are going to go to the state tournament out of this district?
That's a good one. I could see almost any team truly making it out. And maybe Kimball is the long shot, but you never know. They've had the pedigree of state tournament runs and kind of coming out of nowhere at the right time. I really like Buffalo. Buffalo is just consistent. Lineup, like I said, 1 through 9 is just about as good as you can get in amateur baseball. Hutchinson is kind of right there, just maybe a spot or 2 under them. So I'll go Buffalo, Hutchinson, and then I just can't doubt Loretto this time of year. I've done it in the past, and they've made me regret it. So
I don't hate that. I think that in that top bracket, they're a unique teams. So
we'll say this, Kip, you're the first one that has kind of gone away from chalk, and that we appreciate that. St. Martin, a team that missed out last year, but again, Loretto, a team that just finds a way. They always seem to battle, and they always, you can't be surprised anymore. You see Loretto, in parentheses, upset a team. It really isn't an upset anymore. There's no surprise.
No, absolutely. When I fill out my brackets, I do a tournament bracket challenge with the Beckman boys out in Jordan every year. And, I always give every Crow River Valley League team and every North Star, no matter who they're playing. And usually it works out. Loretto's been a big part of that.
Absolutely,
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, so we got your picks, and that'll be all those games will be in Maple Lake. Definitely some good quality baseball. We're going to shift now to 7B, where it just means more. The CRVL. Kip, that's kind of been your kind of your backyard, right? That's the league you've really been following this year.
Absolutely, and it's kind of funny. I'll be at a game and I'll just see someone randomly, and they'll come up to me and just say, "It just means more." So you guys have started that, and it's taken off to the extreme where I just nod my head, give them a thumbs up, and we can keep moving on.
We love it.
Awesome.
We love
it. It's funny how much of a bit that's kind of become.
It really is the SEC of amateur baseball. There's high quality teams up and down. It is fun to kind of see how this season has developed. Lucky for the CRVL last year, they had 3 bids, and Watertown again was the team on the outside looking in. This year, 4 bids. You add a bid. Is that going to be enough for Watertown now this year to finally break through?
It's interesting because last year there was 4 really, really good teams competing for 3 spots, but this year there's 6, maybe 7 teams competing for 4 spots. So it won't be easy, but Watertown did do themselves a really good favor by winning the North Division and getting that first round bye. So you got to really like their chances to kind of snap that 3-year drought where they haven't been able to get back to state. They're going to be able to win 1 game and be into the state tournament. And, Jackson Hunter is going to start 2 of those at least if they don't win the first one. So you got to feel pretty good about your chances going into a district tournament when you have the former state tournament MVP going to get 2 guaranteed starts to try to get you back to the state tournament for the first time. But it's not going to be easy. There's 6 other teams in that district who are very good. Plato's beat Watertown twice already. YA got them in the regular season finale. Watertown really didn't have a whole lot to play for. But, Watertown, if you're looking at anyone who has the best chance, I do think it is Watertown just with how that bracket is set up. You're going to get your ace Jackson Hunter in your first game, and you're thinking probably Delano or Carver, whoever comes out of that first one is going to use their ace as well. So you're going to get that second arm against your ace. And this time of the year, I think you'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows how these matchups are going to go? Yeah, you've got Carver and Delano. Now there is a Delano presence in the room right now. Without being any bias, what do you see out of Delano and Carver?
2 teams that not quite sure what's going to happen when they square off. I know that's not the answer you're looking for,
sure.
But it's been an interesting year for Delano. Like, the offense hasn't been that great. There's been injuries. There's been guys missing. Kind of the young guys another group of young guys have kind of stepped into bigger roles. Trevor Yannick was back in the lineup this past week, which is a good sign for them. And then you look at Carver where, they don't have a guy that probably is going to be statewide recognized other than Mel's, who's kind of been doing it for them and is their manager. But they have 9 guys that are going to show up. They're going to compete, put good at-bats together, and they're not going to blow you away, but they're going to find them a way to keep them in the game. Those teams split during the regular season. They both finished 6-6 in league play. Delano got the tiebreaker, so they get a hit last. But other than that, it's a 50-50 pick'em game, especially this time of year.
Yeah, okay. What I've seen out of Carver is they do the 2 things you need to do very well. They pitch, and they might be defensively just around the field, maybe the best in our league from a defensive standpoint. They're very, very athletic, and they're not going to give you any runs, so you do have to earn it again. That's the one thing that's really jumped out for me for Carver this year for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Carver, I feel like, is just filled with guys that are underrated. Joe Seegers might be one of the best, if not best, shortstops in the Crow River Valley League this year, and they just find ways to win. They're kind of like a Loretto, where the last decade they've kind of found ways to win. They've been in the play-in series when we've had those the last few years, and I think they've won 10 or 12 straight playoff games. So they kind of know what it takes to win.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. That'll be a game to watch. Once again, and we should say this too, you've got Young America is the host for all of District 7B. That's going to be an intriguing matchup. You jump down now. You got Plato. You got St. Bonnie. I know Plato. Everyone wants to talk about their pitching, and as much as we talk about their pitching, last year it didn't get them to where they needed to be.
It really didn't, and no one got an easy matchup the first round. Plato, they lost to St. Bonnie twice in the regular season, so there's that little aspect to it all. But I think out of all the teams right now, Plato might be playing the best baseball right now. Okay. The win over Delano to kind of secure that 3 seed was really impressive. It was the offense, and you guys know the Dean Schwartz mode or Glencoe Silver Lake baseball, how he handles his problem. And there's a little bit of that to Plato of, we're not afraid to lay down the bunt or squeeze or kind of take extra bases when we need it. For this time of year.
Oh, we're losing you a little bit, Kip.
All season long.
Oh, sorry. Okay. That last 10 seconds, you said they're not afraid to throw a bunt down, and what else? What else did you say beyond that?
Well, just taking the extra bases and kind of putting pressure on teams in ways they're not familiar with. And,
sure.
Their pitching staff is probably the best out of anybody in this district right now. No teams average more than 6 runs per game, and 5 of the 7 teams have not allowed more than 4 runs or averaging 4 runs per game. And I was kind of looking at the leaderboard, putting the program together yesterday. And last year, 21 guys in the Crow River League hit over 300. This year is only 10 of them.
Oh, wow.
So that's a pretty big drop to see how much the pitching is. And kind of even looking at it a little bit more, of those 10 guys that hit 300, 6 of them are on different teams. So everybody but Green Isle had one. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how much pitching versus that hitting kind of takes place. You mentioned it's at Wilkeman Park in Young America this year. Not a shot by any means at Young America, but it's maybe a hitters friendly park. Fly balls happen to maybe land on the other side of the fence. There's some quirky fences to it, so it'll be interesting if pitching kind of dominates as much as it has so far, or if kind of that bats maybe get going a little bit as they're playing in a hitter's park.
Absolutely. All right, so you mentioned Green Isle, a team that doesn't have one of those 300 plus hitters. You get them matched up against Young America, the host team. Is there any chance that you see some sort of upset here?
There is. I mean, Green Isle beat them. Their only win this year in league play was against Young America. It was kind of a weird game. They scored 3 runs in the top of the first and then didn't have a base runner the final 8 innings. Just kind of held on for a win. And then their other matchup of Young America, they lost. They gave up a run in the top of the 9th and lost 3-2 again. So they've played 2 1-run games already. Austin Dent is good enough to keep them in games. That lineup is better than it looks. It's kind of underperformed a little bit, but again, that speaks to the pitching of this league. And to say Young America is a shoo-in to advance over Green Isle is kind of blasphemy. You can't really be saying that when one team's beat them already and the other game was a 1-run game. So yeah, Young America will come in as a favorite and probably a heavy favorite, but Green Isle is a team that I don't want to face right now when you got an Austin Dent who can kind of lead the way on the mound, and that offense can pop off at any time. And they just activated Luke Lusky, who is a big add for them. He hasn't played with them all year, but that's a big bat to add to the lineup this time of year, so that'll be interesting to see as well.
Absolutely. So the way the bracket works, you got the losing teams in the first round. They'll be reseeded. They'll go into that loser's bracket. So it's not a true win 2 before you lose 2 type setup. Who do you have? I guess you said Watertown's 1 win away from making that first state bid. Who do you have out of that group? You got 3 other bids. Who do you see coming out of this gauntlet?
Yeah, I'll give you guys every year for the region and district program, I kind of do 3 bold predictions where
Love it.
Just kind of throw stuff out there that probably isn't going to happen, but here's some reasoning behind it.
Right.
And I right now, I just finished it yesterday. I have Young America not qualifying.
Oh,
that
all
that
right.
is
You brought up a host being like kind of like the kiss of death. You want to got some numbers for
yeah.
that
Did you want to follow up on that?
before we get to the other three?
Yes, and no, by no means is it a shot at Young America. They've been in my top 10 all year, and if they make the tournament, I'm probably going to put them on playing on Labor Day weekend. But, they're a little banged up right now. They're not 100% healthy. And like I kind of mentioned earlier, talking about District 6B, hosting and playing is not easy. In the Crow River Valley League, no team has reached the state tournament while hosting since 2019.
Wow.
And that can be a little bit skewed because not every year has the host been in the tournament and had a chance to do it. But, Watertown hosted last year, missed in 2025. Cologne hosted in 2024. They didn't make it. And then Plato and Hamburg were both in the tournament hosting in 2021. And they both missed it. And that was kind of the one tournament where, speaking of Hayes' point before about letting teams host in that thing, Plato had to deal with Mother Nature. They were there till 2 a.m. getting the field ready after a rainstorm.
Yeah.
And then they had to play a game at noon the next day. So that stuff like that kind of adds to it. And then, Young America is the 2 seed. I don't know how much you guys know about the curse of the 2 seed in the Crow River Valley League, but it's not been very good. Watertown was the 2 seed last year. Did make it. Plato finally kind of broke that curse in 2022. They were the 2 seed and made it out of Region 7C. But in 2018, 2019, 2020, and 21, the 2 seed went 0-2 barbecue. So
Wow.
Does Young America really not make the state tournament? We'll find out. But there's a little bit of stuff where I'll throw it out as a bold prediction.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. So with that being said, do you want to go forward and kind of name a few teams that you'd like to see make it through, or at least you plan to see come through?
Yeah, I'll take Watertown for pretty much every reason I said before. Give me Jackson Hunter with a couple chances to get him back to the state tournament. They're also playing really well all around him too, so it's not just the Jackson Hunter show. I like Plato a lot. I think they are the hottest team coming into this tournament. You got Reese Schwartz, you got Drew Hedke, you got a veteran at Adam Prane that if you need to lean on, and then you got some guys in the bullpen like Will Herneman, Trevor Schauer, and some other guys. The lineup's really good, so I'll take Watertown, Plato, and then, Delano Carver, you could talk me into any of them. I'll take Delano just because I think Max Otto is good enough for them to win 2 games. You kind of piece it together around him. And then I'll go with Carver. I'll give Carver the extra bounce. I like Bailey Mills and what he's able to do. I think they're like I said before, just very underrated at every position, where guys that aren't state recognized or even across the league that get the credit that they deserve, that they're going to be in games and they're going to find a way to win a couple, I think.
Absolutely. No, we appreciate the boldness of the picks. That's going to be fun. I mean, I think everyone knows District 7 in B, there's going to be some good teams coming out of here. Whenever you got the previous year's state champion as a 4 seed, you got to keep an eye on that grouping. So definitely going to be fun. Can you just give us a quick shout out for coverage as far as who that's going to be covering games?
Yeah, I'm still working on that. With the change of the 3-class system, it makes things tough. You used to only have to cover one region, which was 7 and 12, and now it's 2, a region and a district for Crow River League. It's a region and a district for the North Star League, and then Waconia is still in Class A. So still trying to figure out that. I'll be at most of all of them, and then Jeremy Stender and his crew do a great job on the radio too. They'll have Region 7C games on 1310 KGLB, and then District 7Bs I believe are on KDUZ or KARP. I'm not sure about that.
Sure.
You'll have your fair share of catching ball on the radio or through my Twitter or online and everything. So
yeah, I know that they're. Sorry, you got it.
Well, the Crow is got it covered like a blanket between the couple of us, and then North Star League we kind of will get to as much as we can. We stick to more of our local teams for our paper, not as much as covering the entire league, but we'll have everything online ready to go the next day.
Yeah, you mentioned Jeremy Stender. I think there's we've mentioned it before, the Made in Minnesota app is a really good outlet for streaming games, and some past, coverage. They might have some podcast recordings that you can go and listen to that stuff. So definitely check out that Made in Minnesota app if you want to cover some CRVL games. And Kip, we're going to have you stick around. We appreciate your coverage in B, but we're going to get you back here in a little bit to talk some Class C baseball. So just chill out for just a moment. All right?
Sounds good.
All righty.
Moving on to District 8B, this is the Corn Belt League along with Janesville, so a full league plus a team. A lot to be decided here yet, so we don't quite have a filled out finalized bracket, but I will give you some info on what I know about District 8B. Right now at the top of the Corn Belt, we've got Raymond and Bird Island, and they were supposed to play for who was going to be the one seed, I think. They got rained out.
Decided is going to be, by the time this comes out, decided Sunday. They will have their game to see who the one seed is.
Gotcha. So right behind them, we've got Granite Falls, Milroy, and then down the way we have Marshall, both Wilmer teams, Sacred Heart, Wabasso. And then Janesville. How are they doing this year? I'm not even sure, to be honest.
Honestly, no idea. That's where we don't have a ton of knowledge on the Janesville team. Of course, we know plenty on the Corn Belt side, and there is some really good baseball there. Especially with Bird Island and Raymond. Raymond, heck of a squad there. Jordan, you've got a couple. I mean, you know where the bids are as far as how many make out of this one?
Yeah, so you've got two of the 5 teams in this bracket coming out of it. If I were to make picks, I know it's chalk and that's boring, but I probably would say Raymond and Bird Island would be your 2 coming out of this one. That's not to say Granite Falls couldn't make a run.
No, they can't make a run because they are a C team.
Oh, well, I guess they can't make a run.
We should say this. Raymond is hosting all these games.
It's the 2 Wilmer teams you're thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
The Rails and Indians.
It's not to say one of the 2 Wilmer teams couldn't make a run. They did have the Rails. They had the hitter of the year in Christian Lessman in their league. So, some offense there. We actually played both teams this year, but we did just play the Wilmer Rails, and they can hit a little bit. So, yeah, could see a surprise there. I know it's boring. I'm going to go chalk. It's Raymond and Bird Island would be my picks for District 8B.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan.
All right, and we are going to kick off Class C with Town Ball Schedule Guy representing Region 1C. He does play for Clearwater, so he can give us a good insight on what everything's looking like in that region. Hosted at Mora Varsity Baseball Field. They're getting 2 seeds. All right, Town Ball Schedule Guy, a.k.a. Brian. You get two bids. Last year you had said, what was it, Mora and Quamba made it out of this region? Correct. All right. So how are you figuring out who the 8 seed is and how many teams are fighting for that 8 seed? Because I see St. Francis, the 1 seed, doesn't have an opponent quite yet.
Correct. So the way they went about setting this up, we had, because we're combined between 2 different leagues, there are, 9 teams from the Eastern Mini and then 2 teams from the Sauk Valley. So we decided to take the top, 7 or 6 from the Eastern Mini, and the top team from the Sauk Valley get automatic buys. And then the bottom 3 from the Eastern Mini and the second team from the Sauk Valley will do that 4-team play-in, similar to what the Northside League used to do.
Gotcha. Yep.
Unfortunately, Ham Lake had to drop out because they weren't going to have enough players to do the play-in weekend.
Oh.
So Bram and Nowden are actually playing today, and then the winner of that would play Becker tomorrow.
Okay.
And then the winner of that would be the 8 seed.
Gotcha. So a little bit of a +1 system. All right. And we're just going to run down the seeds. So then, St. Francis gets the winner of the teams we just talked about. Mora, the 4 seed, and some guys from Clearwater are the 5 seed. 3 seed East Bethel against the 6 seed Cambridge, and the 2 seed Quamba trying to get back to the state tournament. They have the 7 seed Ogilvie. Who do you like coming out of this besides Clearwater? Because I picked Clearwater. Heavy favorite. Who are you picking besides Clearwater? Who do you think? Who do you like?
I mean, to be honest, I do think whoever comes out of that 4-5 game between Mora and Clearwater, because I know for a fact we did not want to play Mora first round. And a couple of guys on our team are connected with Mora from college, and we were texting afterwards, and they both said the same thing. Neither side wanted to play each other first round.
Sure.
So I do think whoever wins that has a good chance of coming out and getting a bid. And then I would say Quamba would also be a very good option. I don't know much about the St. Francis team this year being the one seed. It sounds like they've got added a couple high schoolers that have really helped them out this year. But then I think that's has played into what their overall record would be. And it's a hard team to judge also because they've only played their 14 league games, and that was the only games they played in the summer. So it's hard to get a good gauge from that.
Yeah, 100%. You're only looking at 2 bids here, so you've got some pretty cutthroat baseball that we've played. That losers bracket looks to be quite the hill to climb if you end up in there right away.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that if we have to drop down.
Yeah, because it looks like if you lose first game, you gotta win 1, 2, 3, and 4 games in a row to get that second bid.
Yeah, it looks right.
Yeah,
as I'm looking at it.
that is quite the road, especially after first round loss. So, we talked about you like the 4-5 seed matchup. Whoever's coming out of that. Don't know much about St. Francis, but Quamba is going to bring a solid group out of there. Is that? Oh, yeah. I mean, that Quamba team, you've played them this year.
Yeah, we played them in a doubleheader out there. We lost 2-1 and 4-3.
Oh.
It was a very low-scoring affairs. Not a whole lot of hits on either side, but it was. I mean, they're right there.
Yeah. So you like what Quamba's got going for him there.
Yeah.
You're in Mora here. That is that Mora team with the hometown field. Do you think that's we've
an
talked,
advantage?
Yeah, an advantage.
Advantage
Or disadvantage?
Based on my experience in hosting the region tournament last year in Clearwater, I would say it's kind of a disadvantage, strictly because if you're there, luckily that first game, we have the first game of the tournament, so it'll be that Friday night. So I think that's a little bit different if we were playing them later on, throughout like the weekends, depending on what happens. But based on my experience last year, I mean, you could be at the field all day and then having to play the last game of the day. You're just beat up from just sitting outside all day.
The bracket online has you guys playing them Saturday at 11 a.m.
Did you switch that for the host?
Did you switch it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That must be incorrect. So we play Friday the 7th at 7:30.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
That's, I mean, yeah, then we've talked about it too with other groups, but getting that Friday game for a host is advantageous versus having to go into a Saturday after a long night of hosting. So, it's going to be fun to cover. You've got you still feel strongly about Quamba, and then the either of the 2 out of the 4 or 5 that you're going to stick with those picks right there.
I think so. I mean, between us and Mora, getting that win in that first round against a very high quality opponent is going to be a big momentum gainer for either side, and it kind of puts you in a good position.
Yeah.
And if Becker does come through that play-in and play St. Francis, there's no guarantee that St. Francis will beat Becker, because Becker has played, I think, 6 games against the Eastern Mini side this year. Against teams in our region have gone 5-1 against them.
Oh wow! Yeah, so there's
this one
quality.
could be very interesting. I like this.
Yeah, this is going to be one to definitely monitor as we go, because the way it makes it sound is nothing's guaranteed. We haven't really even talked about that bottom section of the bracket other than Quamba. Does East Bethel, does Cambridge, does anything there jump out to you? Have you heard anything out of those teams?
East Bethel, ironically, does have a North Star League connection for you guys.
Let's hear it.
The old Rockford River Bandits manager and Ryan Rassett has a son that plays for East Bethel.
Yeah, there you go.
And so they are a quality team. Their biggest issue is they had a guy who pitches at St. Cloud State who blew out from what my understanding is, blew out his throwing arm a couple weeks back, and is just at DHing for them. The last few weeks. So I don't know if he's going to be available or not. And they do have another kid that I think either just graduated high school or is going to be a senior in high school that is mid-80s. So he's got some good stuff, but it's that's a hard thing to ask for a high school kid to step into that type of a situation sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Well, good stuff. Ryan, Town Ball schedule guy on Twitter. We always like to pump the socials there. If you're not following, you definitely should. Hashtag tweet your losses so Brian can get an eye on them. Have you noticed an influx of scores? Have things gotten a little bit easier the last couple or this year? I mean, have you noticed that at all?
I will say it's definitely gotten better at people putting scores out there, even putting scores into the NBA website. I've noticed a lot better participation in that. So instead of me having to dually put it in both my spreadsheet and then the NBA website, it's only in one spot.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot better participation overall. A lot of teams having Game Changer and things like that have helped. If they don't have like a social or a post or something like that, I can easily go out and just search up the team and find it that way. But
Right. Well, you shouldn't have any problem working through the sections and the districts and the regions. Everyone should be posting scores, so that should be a little bit easier on you. Good luck to the River Cats as you make that have that big first round game on August 8th, and good luck to the rest of Region 1C. And we'll keep in touch. All right, Brian.
All right.
You have a good rest of your weekend.
I'll try to. You guys have a good weekend too.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, bye.
All right, and we are headed to Region 2C, the greater New Ulm area. New Ulm's going to have a pile of games. Sleepy Eye is going to have a pile of games. And why are they going to have a pile of games? Because this is the old school 16-team double elimination. And they are going to give out 4 bids. So if you rattle off 4 in a row, you are the 1 seed. If you rattle off 3 in a row and lose, they're going to give you the 2 seed. If you end up in that loser's bracket, the best you can do is the 3 seed, but you'll take it. And then, the loser of that 3-4 game, obviously the 4 seed. This is a big one. This is the part Corn Belt and part Tomahawk East. So the seeds, I'm going to run down the seeds real quick. Hanska, Cortland, Granite Falls. There's our Granite Falls kilowatts. The Milroy Yankees, Springfield, Lamberton, Leavenworth is at 7, Stark 8, 9 Gibbon, 10 Sleepy Eye, 11 Searles, 12 St. James, 13 Sacred Heart, 14 Essig, 15 Fairfax, and number 16 Wabasso. Hanska and Cortland, they're Labor Day weekend teams last year. I would be hard pressed to go against them. We saw Cortland this year, snuck past them on a walk-off home run. I mean, otherwise they had us beat. They're tough. Hanska with their fabulous Twitter account. I don't know if they're better on Twitter or better on the field, but they're good at both.
They're well-rounded.
They're my number one. They're my number one in the rankings.
And I think I really like that they put the Corn Belt in this because it really bolsters that middle section. You know, you want to have obviously a good 3, 4, 5, 6 hitter. Well, they have a really good 3, 4, 5 seeds, in my opinion. You grab Granite Falls and Milroy, the Yankees, out of the Corn Belt before you get to Springfield, Lamberton, Leavenworth of the Tomahawk East. So, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up, in my opinion, for those last 2. You know, Jordan was going to have Granite Falls making a Class B run. Let's get them in.
Before my brain melted and I forgot that they were Class C, I was going to say that Bennett Napper was the pitcher of the year in the Corn Belt, so that gives them a true 1.
I think that's going to help them out, and then, you know, it could be Milroy, the Yankees, could be Springfield, could be, you know, Lamberton. So, and it's always tough to gauge when you do have a league that has very 1-2 heavy the last few years with Hanska and Cortland. So, will be interesting to see who comes out of that, and I will not be surprised if 1, if not 2 of those teams are playing on Labor Day weekend again.
Absolutely. This group gets 4 bids. I mean, you got to look at Hanska and Cortland, kind of the heavy favorites coming out of both sides of the bracket. Granite Falls, kind of the talking town ball favorite with Ryan Hayes connected to them by the hip.
For no reason at all.
But that's just how it is.
That's
just how it is. But the Kilowatts are, obviously, that's a fun team. Definitely worth tracking there. But as far as that last bid, I think it's up for grabs. I don't know. You got the Milroy Yankees with the 4 seed, but I know Springfield's got a good squad as well as Lamberton and Leavenworth. So another team too, Stark. That's a team that's been into the state tournament quite a bit as well. Something to keep an eye on. So 4 bids coming out of Region 2C, and a lot of games in New Ulm and Sleepy Eye. So good luck to all the participants in 2C, and we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and we can actually roll right into 3C.
Boom.
Yeah, no
There it is.
needed transition. Jordan, you got this one in front of you?
I do.
right.
And again, some of these regions we don't know a ton about. We tried to get some representation from all over, and this one we couldn't really find a person to do so. So we're going to do our best. But I do know about this one. We have. I'll list you the teams real quick. We've got Morris, Madison, Clinton, Dumont, Benson, Minneota, Rosen, Dawson, Cottonwood, Appleton, and Ortonville. And I know that Morris, the 1 seed heading into this tournament, has had a very good year. They typically do play great baseball. I don't think they're undefeated anymore, but they were for a long time throughout the season. They're the kind of the team to beat. And I think that, well, how many bids do we get out of this one?
You're going to get 2. The top teams are going to make it. So you got your first round games. That's single elimination. And then that's going to lead you to a double elim after that.
So first round, those are at Dawson, and that's 8-9, Dawson and Cottonwood. The 6 seed Minneota against the 11 seed Ortonville, and the 7 seed R Rosen Express against Appleton.
They're going to start Mats, I think, in this game.
I think you start Mats. So those are the winning in and loser leaves town, and then we get to the 8-team double elimination. And did you go through the other 8 seeds, Jordan?
Yeah, well, I didn't go by. Well, I just went.
He covered them all.
1 through 11.
Obviously, Morris is 1, and Madison 2, Clinton 3. And then Dumont and Benson Plowboys are at 4 or 5.
Right. So only 2 out of this. I think you'd be hard pressed to not take Morris. As far as that second seed, you're looking at Madison. You're looking at Clinton. I've heard Clinton's got some ball players. It's gonna be tough. I wouldn't want to run into Morris in that top part of the bracket. So Benson and Dumont have a long road there. That's kind of where we're at. Do you guys see anything else you want to highlight there?
No, I think, Dumont's a team that's been in the state tournament, fairly often. Benson, kind of a newer team. Plowboys is a cool name. No one has that, so that makes me lean that way a little bit too. But like you said, Clinton, Madison, they're both good. Really, really could go any which way. We're gonna take Morris, and I'm gonna say we're gonna go with the number 5 Benson Plowboys as our second one, because I don't know, maybe bulletin board for the teams seated higher than them, and then maybe the boost that they need as the 5 seed coming out of this. So
there you go. Perfect. Well, thank you, Jordan, for the breakdown, and Hayes as well. We'll move on to our next region, and that means we're gonna have to make a little cut here. Be right back.
And we are back here again with Brandon Johnson covering Region 4C. Brandon, what do you know about Region 4C?
Yeah, this is going to be a fun, competitive one, just like the others. This one kind of unique because it's had some changes in who's in it from last year. Roseau moved out of this. Ourselves of Detroit Lakes moved out of this. But Ada moved down into this region, so it's been a pretty cool one. Last year out of there, you had Roseau win that with a walk-off over Hawley, and then Hawley in a 15-inning classic took the win against Nimrod to go to state. Well, now Hawley comes in as the Lake and Pine number 1 team. Very deserved, very quality team. They're going to play War Road first round. I see Hawley taking care of business there. Sabika and Ada is a fun matchup, as Sabika is a very young team. They've kind of made the joke that they're Sabika's 18U team because it's a lot of their varsity guys, but they're extremely quality guys.
Sure.
And there's a really good culture and pedigree going through Sabika right now. You have a Reggie Kaiser's one of their high school coaches, but he's also their manager. And then his son Kobe pitches for the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks. So I even texted him. Unfortunately, Kobe won't be back for the region tournament. That would have made things real fun.
We ran into him in the state quarters in 2023. So way too soon to bring that up. Thanks, Jerk. As a drafty for Bluffton, but no,
he's, and I mean, they're just good guys too. They're a fun group to go play. You know, I played them as a high school coach. My team played them, and they took care of business. We're one of the best teams in our section, but they did it with just class and ease and just had fun. They're a good group, but they're going up against almost the exact opposite of an extremely veteran-ridden team of Ada. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think everybody on paper would say, well, Ada's going to run away with that, but that might end up being just a crazy game of the tournament, too.
Sure.
And then we've got Midway and Agassiz, the two number 2s meeting up. That's going to be interesting. Agassiz's new this year. Don't know much, obviously, there, but they've seemed to get their wins and taken care of business. So they've seemed to have pretty good wins. So I'm interested to see how that one goes. Midway, always a really good team, but they when they show up, they're a powerhouse and have been for a long time. So it'll be fun to see how they do there. And then the last part is Nimrod Foston. Foston's the number 1 team out of the Northwest border. That's a change in leagues, but stays in the same region, just like Hawley. But yeah, that's a really good team with, again, good high school prowess with a couple of I think state title berth or state title championship for high school Class A a couple years ago, and I saw a group. So it's a fun region. I think Hawley, obviously, with being returning, is kind of that favorite. I'd say, Ada is kind of that other favorite too in there as your 2 teams that would represent. But yeah, like I said, Foston's I wouldn't call them a dark horse. They're right in that mix. And again, Agassiz's that wild card, if you will.
Well, you have technically 3 leagues, so you have 3 1 seeds coming out of each league, and you only have 2 bids. So you could get a 2 or a 3 seed out of one of those leagues all of a sudden if one league's a little heavier than the others. But And I'm seeing the sites here. We got games at Sabika, Nimrod, and Monaga. Is that technically Midway?
No, Monaga has a nice high school field as well.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
So I think Midway kind of becomes that 4th, if need be, site. None of those sites. I think Nimrod has lights, if I recall, but none of them have, or the other ones don't.
Okay.
So they're going to kind of have to make sure they're playing day games. And again, Midway being a 4th site works. But yeah, 3 leagues makes it interesting. Last year Hawley came in as a 4 seed out of the Red River and went on to go to the tournament.
Wow.
So it's fun and it's extremely competitive. And I think this region shows what the state was trying to do in competitive balance, because anybody can get out of this region.
For sure. No, I do see that there's a note on the Region 4C tournament page that the site locations can be kind of fluid. Is that kind of just, is there a lot of, geographically, is there a lot of traveling between these teams, or is there just, they're just trying to stay open to the host sites?
Yep, making sure host sites are at their homes, of course, first and foremost. And then some slight juggling, of course, obviously Sabika's playing. Well, Sabika's field can't be used, so the other 2 games might have to change at that time or whatever.
Okay, that's right.
So, trying to keep home teams with their home team. But ultimately, I think just kind of being fluid. I don't think geography plays a huge role, because once you get to that area, those 3 towns are 15-20 minutes apart.
Okay, I was going to say, what's the distance between Sabika and Nimrod?
Not a big difference.
10 miles or less or something?
Right. Sure. Like when we go there, we'll play the varsity game in Sabika while the junior high or JV goes and plays in Nimrod.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Gotcha.
But Monaga has its own high school, so.
Right on.
Gotcha.
No, I love it. I love the creativity. We've had to talk to a couple of other media type or district region section commissioners in charge, and it's just, I'm really liking the creativity of a lot of this, given a couple different sites, options to host, make some money, put it back into their field or their team. So no, this is cool. I'm appreciating the creativity here in 4C. And what, remind me again, who do you think you got coming out of this?
Like I said, I think I got to give the edge to Ada first off.
Yeah.
Just a veteran team. They've been there. They have some quality arms with Upsall and Osowski, but some big bats. And they took our first baseman, so I'm a little biased too.
Oh, man.
Okay.
I mean, cutthroat.
And this is true Well, a kind of a modified, looks like 8-team double elimination, where if you go 3-0, you're the 1 seed, and if you lose game 1, you have to win all the way back just to get to the state tournament. And if you go 2-0 and you lose for the 1 seed, you still got to prove it to get the 2 seed. So I do like that as well.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, that's
and like I said,
cool.
last year, Holly went all the way to the title game, was that team that had to prove it. Then they had to prove it in 15 innings against Nimrod, who battled back from a first-round exit. So it was wonderful.
Wow. Very cool.
Well,
Drama.
So we do have a top 2, though.
Yep.
Right.
I would say
Holly
Ada,
and
and
Ada.
then
Ada, yeah.
Holly with that respect. But like I said, there's just so many teams in the mix there that a lot of dark horses could come out of that.
Absolutely. Well, good stuff.
Well, yeah, thanks for the insight on 4C. We're going to check back in with you a little later on Region 11C.
Beautiful.
All right, and now we're going to jump over to 5C, or down to 5C, simply
Down to
because
5C.
weekend 1 will be in Cannon Falls, weekend 2 at the Willie in Waterville. So interesting rain out the other day. So it looks like they were going to take the number 1 seed out of 1360 and put them into the region, which was Minnesota Lake. And then they were having a bracket to see who was going to grab seeds 2, 3, 4, and 5. And Waterville and Waseca finished 2 and 3 in the standings. Their playoff games got rained out, so they said, well, we put it in the bylaws that if it got rained out, you're going to get the 2 seed and Waseca is going to get the 3 seed.
The backup plan.
The backup plan. So fighting for the last couple seeds are Morristown, Blue Earth, Albert Lee, and the Cleveland Spiders. The other teams that make up the region over here, Cannon Falls Bears, who have been at the top of the rankings. They are the only team out of the Classic Cannon Valley League that is going to go. And then it is 3 Twin River teams, Pine Island, Rush Creek, and Wanamingo. So they're part of that Twins Rivers League that we had talked about a little bit ago in class. They have, most of their league is Class B, so they have 3 C teams. You pull up the standings, they don't have gaudy records though, so I don't know if that's because they're getting beat up by the B teams. Sure. or what's going on there. So it looks like this one's going to get 2 seats, and I think Cannon Falls is probably the favorite. We like Waterville. But seeing that Minnesota Lake finished first in the 1360 part kind of makes me wonder about them. And then you do have the Waseca Braves. So I think it's a 4 to 5 team race for 2 spots. And unless you guys want to correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you mentioned Waterville. I think that for whatever reason, it just this year has been a little bit down for them. They're still a good team, but they just haven't had the same success that they've had in years past. So
well, they finished second in their league, so it isn't like a big drop off. But then you are matching them up with Cannon Falls, and so yeah. I mean, Waseca is kind of a team I think too benefiting from the 3-class system. Because historically they were B and they were always pretty solid. So nice to see them replenish. And I don't even know if we really need to make a pick. And hopefully our guy from Cannon Falls gets his team back to the state tournament, and hopefully our guy from Waterville.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna make a pick, but those are good dudes. And
we're just gonna hope for good baseball and health and good calls from the umpires. So awesome.
And we are back here with Kip Kovar. He covered 6B and 7B, and now we're moving on to 6C and 7C. So same leagues, different class, but we'll just jump right into it with 6C. That is hosted in Dassel at Saints Field, so we know that one well.
Jordan's going to have the field looking pristine. The flicks are always going to have it looking tight.
It'll be tight. It'll be tight.
Kip, are you gonna be able to make up any games up in Dassel?
Yes, I'll for sure be up there to try to get some orphans coverage and then kind of see how everything else plans out. But yeah, goal is to get to every district, region, and section game at least once.
You've got quite a bit on your plate between the districts, the regions, the different all of them, but we'll do our best to go over 6C here. This one's a little weird because nothing is quite set in stone as of the time of recording here on Saturday, but we do have the top 3 North Star League seeds, and that would be Litchfield, Howard Lake, Rockford. We have a 4th seed to decide, games being played today and tomorrow. It'll be Waverly and Maple Plain playing against each other, Dassel Cokato playing Cokato, and then the 2 winners playing to decide that 4th North Star League seed. And then on the Central Valley League side of things, we've got the Cold Spring Rockies, Luxembourg Brewers, St. Nick Knicks, and the Pearl Lake Lakers, and we don't know what order those seeds are yet. So we can't really go game by game for this, but we can cover some teams. We can kind of talk about what you like, what you think you might see.
We can navigate it like this. I think maybe we'll approach it as, CVL, Kip, have you been able, or have you had any sort of, have you had any coverage with CVL, or do you know anything out of the CVL? Is that a league that you've got any information on?
As far as like game coverage, not really.
Yeah.
You kind of, like Luxembourg is a name that always kind of stuck out when we were still in that 2-class system where they were a perennial state tournament team. They matched up against the Quarter River Valley League a handful of times. And Cold Spring Rockies was one of those too. When Watertown made their run in 2022 at Faribault, Dundas, Meesville, they had to square off with the Rockies in that first game, and they gave them a battle. So there's definitely some familiar names in that side of the bracket that'll come out of it, and teams with that state tournament pedigree. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of intermix with the North Star League.
Absolutely. So we can talk last year. Luxembourg, actually, they beat out Howard Lake to win the region. So Luxembourg, no stranger to playing good baseball here in the playoffs. Cold Spring Rockies were a Class B team last year. It is going to be one of the two. I think that's going to be decided today. Luxembourg or Cold Spring, they will be the 1 and 2 seed out of the CVL. Some good pitching out of the 2 teams. Remind me, Luxembourg, they've got a number 1 up there.
They have a couple guys, but that Fannenstein, big lefty, he's tough. We faced him last year in this region tournament, but they have a few arms that are solid, so their pitching can get it done. Absolutely. That 3 and 4 seed out of the CVL, that's going to be between St. Nick and Pearl Lake, and we've been kind of new to both teams. I mean, last year we saw both St. Nick and Pearl Lake in Region 6C. St. Nick, remind me, they had the dramatic win over Cokato. Pearl Lake did.
Pearl Lake,
they scored 9 or 10 unanswered going into the...
It was the 9th inning.
Into the 9th, and walked it off with a bomb. So these teams are to be honest, it still feels like there's some mystery behind them. We don't know a ton about each, but we do know that there's good competitive ball. On the North Star League side, Kip, you've got a play-in tournament happening this weekend while this recording's taking place. Maple Plain, Dassel Cokato, and Waverly. Who do you like coming out of that play-in tournament?
Yeah, that's 4 really good teams just to try to get into this tournament. And Maple Plain is I think you guys were pretty high on them coming into the year, maybe underperformed a little bit too, but they coming down from B as well last year, I believe. I think they have a pretty good chance to maybe catch fire at the right time and make a run. And then DC was right there with Rockford for that 3rd spot, so they're going to be really tough to beat, and that's not just me pumping up Jordan Flick there a little bit either.
No, we get it. They're to be honest, Maple Plain. We had 2 games. Litchfield, we had 2 games late against Maple Plain, and they're a competitive group. They've got. They maybe don't have like a true number 1 starter, but they've got a team that is solid up 1 through 9. They've got some athletes, so definitely a team to keep an eye out on. And you mentioned DC as well, competitive group and good group of guys. They have a guy named Jordan Flick that throws a pretty good game, and
appreciate that.
Yeah, you always got to keep an eye out on for. So it's unfortunate that only one of those teams makes it out, but that's just how it goes. Out of that top 3 out of the North Star League, you got Rockford and Howard Lake and Litchfield. So I don't know. Kip, did you have anything you want to say on any of those 3?
Yeah, I think Litchfield deservedly is the top seed. They've had a great year. Their pitching is kind of what's led them all year, and obviously that being familiar with the group. But pitching is key this time of year, and I think Litchfield's got the best spot for that. And last year there was a kind of an early exit for you guys, but I think maybe that's something that kind of fuels you guys a little bit more this year, is not only just to get back, but kind of make that run last a little bit longer. And sometimes you kind of need that little setback first before you make that big run. So I think that's kind of maybe what you guys are thinking this year. And then Howard Lake, they kind of surprised everybody last year, not only just making the state tournament, but beat some really good teams on the way to do it. They knocked off the hometown Broughton Bruins in the first round and just kind of kept rolling from there. It'll be really interesting to see if they can kind of continue that. They got a pretty good young core that's been fun to watch kind of grow and compete. And then Rockford may be one of those teams that has benefited the most from this move to 3 classes, where, if we were still just 2 classes and everybody was thrown together, they might be at the bottom of that and kind of struggling, but they've kind of stuck it out and now being rewarded, and they're going to be a tough team to kind of compete and see what they can do this time of year.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. These games, again, hosted in Dassel, there are going to be plenty of coverage there. It's a true double elim. If you win 2 before you lose 2, you are into the state tournament with 4 bids in Region 6C. Kip, do you have any teams you like coming out of this region?
Yeah, it's tough because, you get that cross-league matchup where you're just not as familiar with everybody as you're used to against if you're playing somebody in your own league. So that always makes things interesting for me. You're seeing different arms, different guys where you don't really know what to expect. But, this one might be the chalky region, been pretty all over the place before. But I really like Litchfield because just with their arms, and they're going to be able to compete and kind of scratch runs across and play good defense. So I like Litchfield. Howard Lake, they've had a little bit of ups and downs, but I feel like most of the time they've been pretty steady this year. And, they got a really good run last year to kind of build on that experience, to kind of know what it takes to win right now. So I like them kind of out of the North Star League. And then, Luxembourg and Cold Spring are going to be really tough to beat too. I think they kind of will be the difference makers maybe from the bottom seeds of the North Star League, but you never know what's trying to happen. So maybe I'll go a little bit of chalk with 1-2 and 1-2 out of the North Star and Central Valley League.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about this too. I think for as high quality as that play-in grouping is, I'd say keep an eye on that 4 seed out of the North Star League and their first round matchup. I think that there is some really good baseball that's going to be played coming out of that grouping, and I just think there can be really competitive games, even a 4 against a 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just kind of like a touched on before, is just getting a couple wins under your belt before other teams get to play again. You can kind of build that momentum and keep riding it. And you never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if you look at it here, we know, Rockford's going to get either Luxembourg or Cold Spring game 1. Howard Lake's going to get either Pearl Lake or St. Nick, so that means Litchfield's either going to get Pearl Lake or St. Nick. So you can kind of look at it like that as well. I really wouldn't be surprised, no bias, if the North Star League teams went 4-0 that first weekend. And so that first round of games next Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Hey, I support that. There are CVL listeners.
If you guys play like you're supposed to play and don't suck.
Exactly. Our CVL listeners, I know Luxembourg, their manager, they'll be listening. Good. and there's bulletin board material there for you for sure.
Send the can man out.
Yeah, the can man's going to be hunting you down. That was a big surprise too. Watkins unable to make the region tournament. Kind of a reset year for them. I know that there might be a Geislinger that's not involved, and there, Matt, a guy that had thrown a lot previously, hasn't thrown maybe at all this year.
No, I don't think so. And they did lose to a St. Nick team that, they're young, but they're kind of fun. They're exciting to watch. They're fast. They do winning baseball things. So
Mm-hmm. Well, good stuff, Kip. We've got you for one more region here, Region 7C. Once again, more of your the middle of the plate for you. It's Region 7C, and remind us where this is going to be hosted.
It'll be at Volmer Field in Glencoe. Glencoe's coming off hosting a chunk of state tournament games last year, and Clark and Dave Sell got that place looking prime already, so it'll be a perfect atmosphere.
Absolutely. That sounds great. We talk about host sites maybe having the hiccups. Do you foresee any of that with Glencoe?
They've been a wagon all year. 15-1 in this league it's hard to argue. They've had a few games where, Hamburg had them on the ropes twice and kind of let that one get away. West Tonka had them down, I think it was 9-6 in the ninth, and then Glencoe scored 10 runs in the ninth to kind of rally and get that. But 15-1 is very impressive, and that's consistent. And I think that's what it takes this time of year. I would be a little shocked if Glencoe doesn't kind of take care of business. Not saying they're going to win the region title, but I'd be very surprised if they don't find a way to get back to the state tournament and kind of make another run.
Absolutely. So you've got Glencoe. I've been following them a little bit too. They're good at everything. They're a very well-rounded team. Is there another team in this group? I mean, you go down the opposite end of the bracket. You got Cologne and you got Norwood. Cologne's another team that's been playing really good baseball in a very tough league.
Yep, so you got the same top three seeds as the Crow as you did last year with Glencoe, Cologne, and Broughton. And those three teams have kind of put themselves in a different tier than the rest. Cologne has been very good all year. You go Tanner Lipke, Casey Clemenson, Carter Clemenson, and that's a dream 1-2-3 to start off a game for any manager. Tanner is probably one of the better leadoff hitters in the league, and then Casey can swing away if you want him. He'll get a bunt down, and then you got Carter Clemenson who's right there to drive him in, and we'll kind of be flirting with the Triple Crown in Class C this year. So Cologne's exciting to watch. They got some good young pitching that's kind of stepped up as well. Brandon Fritz has done a great job taking over from Craig Pexa last year, and Cologne will be very tough to beat this time of year as well. And then Brownton, we've talked about Loretto Larks and what they do in August. It's Ryan Graham's and Brownton Bruins in August. They just always find a way to get it done, whether they're healthy or not healthy, or whether they're a top seed or a low seed. So, Graham's is really hard to bet against. Scott Finberg is probably the best hitter in Class C. He's been on a tear all season long, and kind of expect him to do what he does. So those top three are definitely in their own tier, but there's some teams right behind it that are going to make this tournament really interesting.
How many seeds are coming out of 7C?
So that was the big thing. Last year they were stuck with the RVL. They got 4 bids, but this year they did get their own region. So it is all Crow River Valley League teams, but they did lose a state tournament bid. So instead of 4 bids, there's only going to be 3 bids this year. Okay.
Yeah, that's obviously going to, you talk about a clear top 3. You got 3 bids. It's going to take some upsets here to break through. Otherwise, you look at the 4 seed Hamburg, the 5 seed Arlington. Are any of these teams able to push one of those top 3?
Yeah, if I see any of those bottom seeds kind of stealing a bit, I really like it to be Hamburg. I think they are playing really well right now. They got 2 of the best hitters in the league, and Luke Kaczynska and Ian McCrowan. Those 2 kids are absolute studs. Have kind of added pop to the lineup that Hamburg has needed. And then they don't have the stud pitcher that they're going to lean on for 9 innings, and hopefully that's enough. They're going to kind of piece it together, which that kind of works sometimes, where you see maybe 2-3 different guys to keep guys off balance. So I think Hamburg is a sneaky team that has kind of been knocking on the door the last handful of years, but just hasn't been able to get it done. And with the way they're kind of playing, kind of coming in high, I really like them to kind of make some noise and put themselves in a spot to compete for a state tournament. And then Arlington, kind of last year was their first year in the league. They kind of were about what they were this year, 500, won some games that impressed you, but also had a few head-scratching losses. And that's kind of be interesting to kind of see what they do this time of year. Kind of like Hamburg, not the most dominant pitching staff, but can piece it together and get hot offensively. And I think the biggest wild card heading into this tournament is West Tonka. You know, they were Class B last year. They kind of took it on the chin. They maybe didn't deserve to be in Class B or wasn't as competitive as they wanted to, but they probably have the biggest difference of floor to ceiling out of any team. When they're at their best, they are a really good baseball team, but they've had a few tough losses here down the stretch, where even a loss to Winstead to kind of close out and kind of took them out of the running for a better seed. So it's which West Tonka team is going to show up. Is it going to be the team that had Glencoe on the ropes but then let it go, or is it going to be the team that just couldn't find ways to win ball games down the stretch? So it'll be very interesting to see what they kind of do.
Absolutely. So a tournament hosted in Glencoe, you know, you mentioned Glencoe kind of the favorite. Is there going to be do you have any bold predictions out of this region that could potentially shake it up, or do you stick with that top three?
I think I'll stick with the top three. I'll probably try to find something that are bold to predict. It's just the way by year they have been the three best teams, and you know, historically in Region 7 it hasn't mattered. We've had this kind of double elimination format since 2016, and if I remember right, not once has the top four seeds all advanced to the state tournament. It'll be a little different with only 3 teams going to state this year. But just when you think every year it's going to be chalk, it hasn't been chalk. I'll probably talk myself into going not. And if I would, I think I don't know why, but I'm kind of on the Hamburg wagon right now.
Sure. We love it. No, that's good stuff. Anything else? Once again, we've had you in for 6B, 7B, and now 6C, 7C. Is there anything else you wanted to let the listeners know before you hit the road here?
I don't think so. It's the best time of the year, and it's a lot of fun. You know, I just told my wife, you know, I'm busy every weekend till Labor Day now. So, and she kind of took that with a grain of salt. But you know, it's a game Thursday, it's a game Friday, it's 3 games Saturday, it's 3 games Sunday for the next handful of weekends. And when you get home Sunday night, you're just the last thing you want to do is go back to the ballpark. But then, you know, it's Monday night, Tuesday morning coming around, and you're like, I can't wait to get back to the ballpark and some more baseball kind of thing. So it's fun. You never know what's going to happen. I enjoy being part of it, and can't wait to see what happens, and hopefully have some deep runs by some of the teams that I cover again. The championships the last couple of years. So who knows what's in store this year.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're not following Kip on Twitter or X, make sure you do that, and he gives us some really good updates there, and it's a fun time for everybody. We're excited to see the updates out of North Star League and CRVL, and we'll be looking to you for some good coverage down there. So, thanks again, Kip. You have a good August and into September.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for having me on, and thanks for all you do. It's a lot of fun to kind of listen to hear different perspectives from people that, you know, areas that I don't get to or hear much about. So it's always fun, and I'm sure we'll bump into a lot of you guys over the next few weekends.
That sounds great, Kip. Again, you have a good one. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks.
All right. See you. Bye. All right. When we're back here with Region 8C coverage, and no man better to talk 8C than Kirby Hemish. We've said it already. The Sultan of Stearns County is with us, and we're just excited to have you. Kirby, you feel a little bit more comfortable talking about 8C ball rather than 1B?
Having not missed a pitch of 8C in like the last 5-6 years, yeah, I'd say you're more in my you're missing middle on me on this one.
Sure,
so we'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just jump right into it. You've got a tournament that's hosted in Regal. Now, Regal, they just added lights. Is that right this year?
They got lights probably 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
And have any of you guys ever been to Beyer Field in Regal? Quick show of hands.
I've driven by it a million times.
Stopped years ago, and I stopped and kind of walked around.
Okay, so pretty big. I know that you almost got lost, right? Because it's a huge metropolis. It's not by the west side Taco Bell in Regal. It's more by the east side Taco Bell in Regal. No, so we're talking a town of like 47 people.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, they're like, yeah, we're fundraising to get lights. It's like, that is just awesome. Like, good for you guys.
Super cool.
Just a community and a team that has so much pride in that park and in that baseball team. So it's pretty sweet. And the fact that they get to host, the entire region, and they haven't hosted in like 20 years and stuff like that. So it's going to be a fun couple of weekends over in Regal.
Absolutely. And there'll be full hands on deck. Unfortunately, Regal did not make it out of their early playoff. A final weekend team in 2025 in the Class C tournament, and they are already hanging up their jerseys for 2026. So they'll have the full crew there to help support the hosting duties. Unfortunate, but sometimes that's the way it goes. So
yeah, shack worker stand got filled up pretty quick, but that league, you talk about arms, they got just bullets up and down that league where it's like if you're not pitching over there, you might be signing up for the region worker stand.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you talk about pitching, we can kind of just jump right into it. You've got New London coming in the county line number 1. They're going to be playing the winner of Atwater Lake Henry.
Is that game? Then that game's going to be going on here before we air. Is that at Regal as well, or is one of those teams get to host?
Nope, that's in Regal. That's on Saturday afternoon at 1. So you get, Kingery's going to go for Atwater, I would assume. I mean, that's who I'd throw. But so Lake Henry, it is now August, and that team somehow has made a commitment to find a way in August over the years. But you talk about Kingery playing or pitching in the play-in game. If they lose, he could be drafted going into regions where it's like, oh wow, that's a nice addition.
Somehow Bird Island will get him.
So of the teams that don't make regions, you do one round of draft, and then there's 2 more guys after regions?
Correct, yeah. And last year they didn't draft into regions, but then this year they did.
Interesting.
And it's more of I think they like getting more teams represented and stuff like that. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with the fact that amateur baseball is a very fluid, changing thing year by year?
But I like that. I like that. I'm cool. That's fine with me. We don't. I feel like not to pick on people, but I know that it's just like sometimes it's like this is how we've always done it, and this is how we always got to do it, and you look around and it's like. You look at the Big Ten baseball tournament. They did friggin' pool play. We did pool play. It's okay to be unique and different.
Correct.
They ran that series years ago, Uniquely Minnesota. Well, that's what town ball is. So
that's right.
Whatever. It's all good.
Wait, you can change things?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know about all that. Not familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we always did it and we always did it wrong. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah. So no, it's great. Yeah, because then you do. If Atwater gets beat, somebody grabs, Kingery, and it can help you get to the state. I like the idea that he could get drafted and then drafted again, though, too.
That is pretty
He could play three teams in 1 year.
Why not?
Double pick.
That's wild.
So would he be an Atwater draftee or like a New London draftee?
You got to put both in the program.
Nice. Love it.
He's got to wear a different piece of uniform for every team that he's been on leading up to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, you got back to real stuff. Atwater Lake Henry, the winner gets New London Spicer. What do you know about New London Spicer or New London?
So
what do they call themselves?
They go by Spicer. The ballpark's in Spicer, so I think they're the Spicer Twins. Okay. Yeah, they got a nice addition of guys from Wilmer, I believe, paired with some good New London guys as well. They got this guy who pitched at St. Cloud State, Caden Hansen, who throws gas. Mm-hmm. He's kind of the top of the order guy for him as well. They still got a couple guys from when they used to go to state a bunch, Jake Rambo and Mike Danielson. And it looks like they play, pretty solid defense. So they came through the wrestlebacks of that county line league. So a battle-tested squad and with some experience as well. I went to their game on Wednesday. They played Atwater. They had like 26 guys in the dugout, and for some reason, I love that. Like, you have that many guys committed to come to the game, and their manager's like pulling 4 guys off the bench to pinch run all night long. It's like, well, that's good.
Well, I was going to say, you're talking to 3 guys who, anytime 26 guys for a show up, we're like, yes, this is great. You love the numbers. So.
We love the numbers.
As opposed to waiting for that ninth guy on Group Me to say
Right.
again,
Or as
on a game
opposed
where
to-
it's like, oh my god, I don't
Yeah.
want to play right field tonight.
Exactly.
Come on, guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. We can go into our next matchup though. I mean, you've got New London. Do you think New London, even if it is an Atwater matchup, you like New London in that one?
Well, I was not made aware that we were doing picks on this thing.
I'm putting your feet to the fire a little bit.
Cool, yeah. So I mean, if Atwater wins today or on Saturday against Lake Henry, and then they could come back with Kingery next Saturday, or it would be next Friday night as well.
A tough
But
matchup
if he goes against Hanson too, I mean, I could be looking at broadcasting a 72-minute game with those two bullets firing. So you know what, I would not sleep on Atwater in that matchup with New London. They play them tough, and they just lost to them the other night. So can I give you a political answer and say I hope both teams have fun and no one gets hurt?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You hope they both win somehow, but we can keep rolling. I mean, as far as the matchups go, let's just keep highlighting teams and just seeing strength and in each one of them. You've got New Munich and Farming. What do you like about those two teams?
Well, the Flames can swing it. When you got Isaac Nett, who last Sunday against Richmond at one point was 3 for 3 with 3 bombs and 7 RBIs, and he hit one within like 5 feet of the fence to end the game, where every soul in Richmond crumbled a little bit as that ball was, going up in the air. But and then Navratil, and they got Bennett Hilla. It's just all these stud lefties. But New Munich has a stud lefty pitcher who pitched for Farming last year, Ty Reller. So it's like, man, you got good on good right there. That should be a fun matchup. And me, the Stearns County dork, I was like when it's Stearns County versus Stearns County. So I'm pretty jazzed for that one Friday night.
Oh, 100%. It sounds like it's going to be a good matchup. You might see, you got good offense versus good pitching. That can always turn into something fun. So you now you go to the Stearns County South number 1, Richmond.
Richmond is the one. They take on Spring Hill. Spring Hill got the higher seeded 3.
Sure.
Two teams that have they've played a lot in big games over the years. Richmond's been hot. They've got got Tyler Prom and Dalton Thielen on the mound. Tyler Prom in the batter's box. Some good young players as well. But Spring Hill, they just find a way as well to make things competitive, stay in games. They're kind of like a team with 4 guys that can go out there and throw. So going into the game, you're sitting there like, well, who they gonna write number 1 next to on the lineup card? Mm-hmm. So it's not like all week you're preparing at BP. So a good matchup. And Spring Hill, they are the 3 seed, but they had a very good record during the regular season. Just kind of got caught in the first round of the playoffs. So like probably not like your traditional 3. So a tough matchup for the top seeded Richmond.
Yeah, you say top seeded Richmond. I feel like that's maybe a team that has been a little bit more under the radar. Is that would you feel that that's the way? I mean, even with the number 1 on the next to their name, do you feel like they're maybe being a little bit looked past a little bit?
I could see that. I could hear an argument for that. I mean, El Rosa has had an awesome year this year, and they got all the love in the super important and valuable rankings on MinnesotaBaseball.org. But just the fact that like they've won for almost a month straight, basically, and kind of took care of business in the Stearns County League South. Thank you, Royal Park being just big enough to hold Isaac Nett that last at bat. But yeah, it's a team that I would agree with. People are maybe they got the 1 seed. How about that? Like they had a good summer and they got good guys.
Now you move on, like you said, the all important rankings. I know a guy that contributes to that, and it really is a crapshoot, to be honest. It's El Rosa's getting a little bit more love in the rankings. I think they even climbed to 5 or 6 in the state rankings. You've got El Rosa now that they're going to get lined up against Starbuck, and I mean, so we talked about how Richmond maybe got a tougher draw with a 3 seed, with them being a 1 playing a 3. Mm-hmm. When you look at El Rosa being a 1 out of the north, getting the 2 out of the county line, well, that Starbuck, and they got Versteeg, and so you're facing maybe the second best pitcher in the region in round 1, and you're looking at like, well, should we have been the 2?
dang it, like this is really how we wanted things to go. But you guys know how it goes. You play who you play. You face the team in the other dugout type of deal. But hey, props by the way to AJ for not pumping up El Rosa's rankings throughout the MN baseball Class C rankings. He could have easily put him at 1 and gave him more points every week, but he stayed true to the game, and you got to tip your cap to that. But the Saints, they I talked about how Spring Hill's got a bunch of guys who could throw. El Rosa's in that same spot where it's like they got a lot of depth in pitching. Maybe, I mean, obviously Van Beck has his history, but maybe not anyone where it's like, oh man, he just mowed us down. But a lineup top to bottom that gets it done. They're kind of coming of age, all a good group of guys making their way into their mid-20s. And, oh, by the way, they were down to their last out in a win and go to state, lose, and decide how much money you want to spend on Jahmyr Gibbs' fantasy ranking last year. And Jackson Peter hits a 3-run bomb to kind of send him to state. So It's like Starbuck, El Rosa, Belgrade, Minnewaska High School, little history there. That's gonna be a sweet matchup.
That's very cool. 8C is just I can imagine there are going to be some packed crowds in Regal. There's going to be some fun games. You got to get out and see it.
Well, and how many bids are we getting out of 8C? Is it?
We have 4.
4. Okay, so we'll put you on the spot one more time here. If you had to pick 4,
pick my 4.
Who do you pick?
I will go with the rankings darling. I gotta stop. I'll be done with the rankings. Sorry.
No,
El Rosa's gonna go. If I had to pick, I'm gonna say that Farming will swing their way in. I like New London and Richmond. So wow, look at that. The 3 1s and a 2. Way to go.
Chalk, baby. We love it. That's good
Remember
stuff.
when your dad would fill out a bracket for the NCAA tournament and he'd have 4 number 1s in the Final Four? It's like, wow, exciting, Dad. Way to go. It's,
you know what? That's our meals for the next month, so you better hope it comes true.
That's right.
And watch it. Now it'll be Atwater, Spring Hill, New Munich, and
Starbucks.
That's what makes it
Starbucks
fun. If honestly, if your region can produce, volatility like that, I think it makes it even more fun to watch. So, got to get people at the ballpark.
So you get St. Martin in B, where it's like, oh, the Martins will go, and they went for a million years straight, basically. But then they go to B, and it's like, okay, so it's pretty much wide open now. Mm-hmm. And this region used to have Watkins in there and Kimball and the Rockies. So like, oh, Geislinger will get them to state type of deal. So it just kind of the way it moved, and it's wide open, and that's why they play the games, fellers. So it should be a fun couple weekends over there.
That's right. And you'll be covering games all throughout?
We'll do every one of them. And we've been doing every region game for quite some time. So it's a lot of fun. Don't tell my wife. And it's a good opportunity for people to get out to the game. And if you can't, they listen in. And if you think they're not listening, as you guys well know, just say something stupid on the air, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah," and then you said that, you moron. It's
you
like,
idiot. Yeah. So remind us again where you can be found. Are you streaming anywhere?
Yeah. So tune in on. I work for Chasm Radio out of Albany, Minnesota, AM 1150, FM 107.7. And if you don't live in God's country, hop online at mychasm.com. Click on that Listen Live tab at the top of the page, and we're right there for you. And if you're playing in your own region and you want to listen back, we'll archive it on our sports tab, and you can listen back to a game or two.
Unbelievable.
How about that?
Because I would assume DC, Delano, and Litch have games next weekend.
We're going to try to all make that possible. So that is the goal. And the level of convenience, the streaming, everything that's Town Ball has evolved in the last 5-10 years, and it's really fun to watch. And the ability to come back and stream whatever game you want to listen to, that's just incredible. So credit to you guys.
And like the fact that once upon a time it was like you had to hear about a game, and now you could listen back to it or like look at a Game Changer box score or something like that, where it's like, whoa, we are living in 2070, fellas.
Yeah, it's big stuff. So really cool having you back, Kirby. We'll maybe connect back with you before the state tournament. Who knows? Alrighty.
Works for me. Yeah, I appreciate the time, and best of luck to you and yours as we turn to August, fellas.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Kirby. You have a good one. All right, we're back here. It is going to be Region 9C, and back with us, Rick Rammond. Joined us earlier talking 4B. Now we're on to Region 9C. Rick, let's jump right into our Class C ball here. You've got, let's look here. Is there 2 seeds that come out of 9C?
Only 2. Yeah, we went from 4 to 2.
Oh, wow.
So,
and that's
our league will get 7 seeds, but 5 of them go to Class B and 2 to Class C. So,
and that's obviously Piers Lakers leaving quite a hole in that Class C group, but maybe opportunity abound for some of these teams. But like you said, two bids. We've got a couple games early on here. We've got
St. Wendell and Opal last night.
St. Wendell and Opal.
And who won that one? Right?
Yeah, that was all Opal 7-1. They got on them for a run in the top of the first and really never looked back. So they kind of cruised to that one. So St. Wendell's kind of now on the uphill climb here. That was a 5 seed over a 4 seed. But, you look at down to 2 bids with those 8 teams. We lost the Piers Lakers, who was one of those 4 last year. The 3 other state tournament teams, they're still in there. So one of those is going to be on the outside looking in. So
is there? Yeah, sorry.
Randall, Opal, and the Piers Brewers are still in there. They were state tournament teams last year.
Is there a clear number 1? I mean, I see Randall, and they've been a team that's made some noise in the past. But are they a clear number 1?
Number 1, 9-2. They won the regular season, but one of their 2 losses was to the 8 seed Aiken, who they face today at 10:30.
Oh, wow!
So
nice.
that's and it wasn't just like a 1-run loss. Like Aiken pounded them like 14-6.
Wow.
So that could be one. But Randall's just got a guy named Adam Neibauer. He's about a 6'7" big guy, and he just changes speeds as well as anybody. And he's just tough to pick up the ball on, and he's just had an outstanding year. So he's kind of their ace for Randall, and I'm sure we'll see him today against Aiken.
Perfect. Yeah, we go into it. We obviously kind of similar in the fashion of your 4B tournament. You've got the bracket set up. Can we just talk on the 2 seeds? Who do you have coming out of this group?
Ooh, boy, this is tough because there's a level playing field here. And the 2 that I like, and it's actually going to be, I think, Piers Brewers, the 2 seed, and I like number 5 Opal.
Ooh, okay.
Well, in this one too, with only 2 seeds getting in, it looks like you could go 3-0 and still you can go 2-0 and still end up having to win one of your last 2 to get in. So it isn't, and then that's probably different from the past. So it looks like you have the Piers Brewers are your 2, Freeport 7, and then Clear Lake 3, and Piers Bulldogs 6. Clear Lake, they're new to the Victory League this year, if I'm not mistaken. What have you seen out of them?
First year in the league. I broadcast a couple of games this year. They got a nice pitcher, Jackson Phillip is his name. A lot of St. Cloud Cathedral kids, a lot of familiar names from the high school season, found their way to Clear Lake. Mike Cullenbecky runs the team there, and Clear Lake does a nice job. They had a nice year. So, just a quality team. If you know St. Cloud Cathedral High School ball, that translates very well to what they do, and that's just the same style. They get at you, and they keep their foot on the gas. So, that'll be an interesting one. They get 6 seed Piers Bulldogs, and that's another game. I talked like Aiken knocked off Randall. Piers Bulldogs 10-run to Clear Lake in a game we did this year.
Oh gosh!
So, okay. I mean, that's how even this seed bracket is going to be. Yeah,
it feels like there's a lot of similar storylines between some of these first round matchups. An 8 seed beating a 1 seed, and the 6 beating the 3. Aside from Opal and the Piers Brewers, of the other 6 teams, who do you think has a crack at it?
Oh, then I would put Randall, I think, in as a solid 3.
Right. Sure.
They're a veteran team. They got guys that know how to get it done. I just don't know if they have the backline pitching to stack it up through a run. After Neibauer, sure. Nate Benning would be their number 2 guy. But Nate's a good pitcher. But just you don't know. If you asked me to pick somebody, and I guess those were my 2 picks. So, but I'm not shortchanging Randall at all. But I like Opole. They've got a great group of young players, and they run to beat heck. They got young youth legs. They stole 9 bases last night against St. Wendell. Just ran all over. And Pierce Brewers are just a well-disciplined team that does a lot of things that the Victory League likes to do. That's, get them on, get them over, get them in, get a base hit, a walk, hit by pitch, bunt them over, and little dunk into right field, and all of a sudden they got to run, so, and they got the pitching then to make those low-scoring games hold up. So
perfect.
Sounds good, Rick. Well, we're going to, leave it with that. We got your predictions. We got a breakdown of, the brackets. Enjoy the next 6 weeks of baseball, and I'm sure we'll see some Victory League teams.
Let's hope we stretch it to 6.
Yeah, well, I have a hard time believing that the Victory League won't. So,
yeah, there's always a team going deep.
All right, you enjoy your Saturday, and baseball
right, thanks,
starting
guys.
a little bit. All right, see you, Rick.
Yeah.
See you, Rick.
All right, bye now.
Bye.
Now we're going to cover a little bit of 10C, Region 10C.
The Fortnite League.
The Fortnite. I was going to do the default dance. If the music was playing behind us, I was going to do the Fortnite League. A lot has already been decided throughout these playoffs. They've had their quarters. They've had, all that stuff. But right now we are down to 8 teams, and I'll just go top to bottom, 1 to 8. We've got Wyndham, Fairmont, Milroy Irish, Laverne, Hadley, Jackson, Worthington, and Fox Lake. So 1 versus 8 and so on. These teams are all playing a best of 3 series, and then they're going to meet up the 4 winners, and one of them is not going to go to the state tournament. So of these teams, I know that Wyndham has been a favorite since basically last season.
Yeah.
They kind of haven't moved from that top of the top tier teams that everybody seems to love, and yeah, we like to sail the pirate ship. Arg.
We're a big fan, obviously. You guys, Jordan, you were drafted by Howard Lake last year. You ran into Wyndham.
Yeah,
and,
it's a tough team. I'll say that. They've got the arms. They fill the zone up, and that's what you can't ask for more than that. But they've got good arms. They have a solid lineup. They're number 1 for a reason. I would say, we got to pick 3 of these. I'm gonna just say Wyndham is gonna be one of the 3.
100%. I like Wyndham there.
The rest of the series here, and then moving into, the 4 teams minus 1 that won't make it. Fairmont's good. I know that. They've had a solid season. I would probably take them as well. And then it gets a little dicey after that.
So right now, and again, we're talking on a Saturday. Jackson is actually leading the 3-6 series. Milroy Irish 3, Jackson is the 6 seed. Wow. Jackson's up 1-0.
Yeah.
So if they pull one off before we go live on Tuesday, you could get Jackson stealing a spot in the Final Four there too. So, but I think the odd part, and sorry to cut you off, seeing Laverne as a 4 seed.
Laverne surprises me. When they announced, Fairmont and Laverne were going to move back from B to C, I said, well, geez, I could easily see Laverne or Fairmont being the number 1 and really pushing Wyndham.
Yeah.
But to see Laverne as a 4, the more I look at it, the more I want to go, Wyndham, Fairmont, and Laverne out of that group.
And Laverne did, and at the time of recording, they had an 8-0 shutout over Hadley. So, I mean, they kind of took care of business there. It wouldn't shock me to see them just win another game and be in it. If we're going to go Wyndham, Fairmont, I will take Laverne, even though that series has not been decided. The Jackson Milroy Irish one is a little bit tougher, and I don't want to go 1 through 4, so I'm going to pick Jackson solely based on we can't have 1 through 4.
Sure.
There it is. That is Region 10C, and moving on to 11.
All right, and we're bringing Brandon back here to talk now Region 11C. We had him on for 4C, but this one is a little near and dear to him because his Detroit Lakers will be playing in this one. And this one, a Looks like also going to be a no. You got 12 teams in this one. I'm looking at the bracket. You
have got the resorters up there too.
Yeah. So Brandon, give us a rundown of what leagues are making up this region, and then we're going to jump into the matchups.
Yeah. So the top seeds, we have the high 10 here, Perm and New York Mills. The other way around. New York Mills and Perm, the 1 and 2 out of there, and then the resorters a little more south of the high 10. Burbank and Sauk Center, the top 2 coming out of that 4-team league. So yeah, we got 12. We've got we had the one pigtail game that kind of got canceled out. So now it is just we're rolling into a tournament with 4 teams getting a first round bye.
Perfect. Can you touch on this for a second? Ashby is my second home. What happened to the Ashby Athletics?
I believe that that's out of our league, so I actually didn't look into that. To be honest, sorry about that.
That's no problem.
I'm assuming they have some forfeit rule, which unfortunately has plagued the north half. We can touch on that if you guys want to.
No, I think there is a state bylaw, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong. I think if you forfeit 2 games during the regular season, you're done.
You're ineligible.
So it's probably something like that, because I feel like they have played this year. So.
Oh, they definitely have. I know that they've had some park. They named the park after Wolvatney up there, but they've definitely been playing. But I know for a fact that games have been few and far between.
Gotcha.
So.
And now, Brandon, because you used to be the Region 4 commissioner, guy in charge of that. Are you the same thing in 11C? Because I know you guys switched leagues.
Yeah, so when we switched leagues, it all came a switch of regions. I was the Red River president last year, so it's kind of weird to hand that over. I don't have an official title. I did make the schedule for the High 10 and the Lake and Pine this year. That was kind of my contribution there. We were at our first league meeting, and they were asking who was going to do it, and I'd never been that's kind of the cool thing about town ball, right? Is the rabble. We just made our own matchups with each other team when we had dates available. This, we had one person, myself, make the whole schedule for the High 10 and the Lake and Pine. So,
Gotcha.
So that was my role this year.
Well, I'm going to give you credit for putting the bracket together, because what I love is you have the bracket, you have the times, everything, and then over on the left-hand side, you have the High 10s seeded 1 through 8, and the resorters seeded 1 through 4, so you know where the teams are from, and you know right where they're seated. So, love that. I'm going to give you credit for that.
It's beautiful.
Good.
All right, so... But, let's kind of jump into it here. New York Mills, Sauk Center, Burbank, Perham are your 4 byes. Then your first round matchups, you have Clarissa and Kensington. Kind of a 4-5 matchup out of each league. Do you know anything? What do you know about those 2 squads, and who you thinking is the favorite?
Yeah, that's a pretty nitty-gritty game right there. Clarissa has a good young core, but they also have some pretty solid veterans. I mean, one of their managers, still quality lefty coming off the mound, is an older guy. So they'll give Kensington a really good battle. Kensington obviously has a kind of like a lot of town ball teams, of course, has that collection of family there that kind of is their core. So they have their good solid core. But it's just kind of one of those things, again, if everybody shows up, that game's a bloodbath, but it's kind of more who gets them there and who's available on the mound. I can't give a solid edge. Didn't see Kensington this year in person, but I guess then I got to go with Clarissa just from they took it to us 2 times this year, so I have to give them the edge, right?
Yeah, there you go. And then looks like Deer Creek is the 3, you're the 7. Now when Delano, Litch, and DC, when we were all C teams in the North Star League, oftentimes the 3 seed and the 7 seed going into playoffs had about a 1-game difference. So is that similar in the high 10, or is Deer Creek have a little bit more of a gaudy record than you guys do? And what do you got to do to beat them?
Well, we split with them in the regular season.
Okay, there you go.
And actually, the game that we lost, we changed pitchers late. I actually came out with 1 out, or we had 2 outs in the 8th, and I came out with 2 runners on, and that was a good time for a pitching change. And with 2 outs, the guy hit the ball off the wall on the first pitch he saw off my reliever, and then we threw the 3rd run out at home, so it was bases loaded. So they tied it up on 1 pitch, and then we go to the top of the 9th, kind of shell-shocked. We don't score at the top of the 9th, and then they walked us off on an error at the bottom of the 9th. So,
so rubber match should be pretty good here. And that's tonight, 8:00. Guys, let's shut her down and head to Perham.
Yeah, the night of the recording, we gotta race up to Perham.
All right.
There's going to be a good game up there.
And then you got. Oops, sorry. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, I was just gonna say. So obviously, it's hard to pick there. They're a solid squad, but we're pretty scary scary 3-win 7 seed with some of the stuff we've gone through this year.
You know what? Again, going back to when I was in the same region with this, the 2-7, 3-6, those were always toss-ups because it's only a couple game difference between them. So then we got a 4-8 high 10 matchup. We got Henning and Dent. So what's going on with those squads?
In the most respectful of ways, Henning's your lock.
Okay. Well, Dent won 9-0 against Ashby. They scored 9 runs.
Technically, you get a 9-0 win when you.
Nothing against the Diamond Hawks here, but Henning has just a stud pitcher. I don't know if you guys saw it earlier this year. Steven Lindbergh threw 200 and I think 6 pitches or something in a 15-inning game this year against the Shockers. They got walked off against the Shockers. So I mean, he's one of those guys. He's just going to show up and he's going to pitch. I not only play, but I umpire, and I've gotten to umpire for him pitching a couple times this year. And man, he just attacks zone. So Henning's gonna probably be pretty locked in to be playing Urbank on Sunday at 1. So, and then Long Prairie and Vergus there. That is the Resorters 3, and then the High 10-6. Again, kind of like what you were saying there, Hayes. That can be that really tough one. Vergus is just that nitty-gritty group that's going to steal some wins. They're the one team outside of Perm and Bluffton in the league this year that beat New York Mills. So they're a team that can get it done against the best of them. So
gotcha.
That one should be a tough one. I can't be all high 10 biased here, so let's just play the numbers game and say Long Prairie has the edge, huh?
All right, fair enough. And then, like I said, New York Mills, Sauk Center, Urbank, and Perham have the first round buys. So then those games are Sunday right away. If you win today, you got to come back, turn around. You got to kind of figure out, hey, do I throw my number 1 today, or can I save them for tomorrow? You see a lot of that in college baseball. So who do you think comes out of this? And you know what? We're just going to take Detroit. I'm going to pick Detroit Lakes. I already did, but I'm going to tell you that you can't pick Detroit Lakes. So.
Yeah, you cannot.
Nope, that's fine. I think anybody who manages in town ball understands when you make decisions, you have to do it without looking at your own opinions of yourself, and especially when you're making a lineup card. But when you're not a procrastinator, that too.
Prognosticator.
Yeah.
Right. You kind of have to do the same thing. I'm going to be 100%. I wouldn't pick us. I think we are a solid team, but we don't have the numbers this year, and we're kind of down, and the pitching depth we've had is not there. But who knows? I'll throw every game if need be, and we got a couple other guys that are pretty solid. I would say, though, again, as a prognosticator, I think Perm and New York Mills, they're just solid. Again, depth of youth. Perm is scary because they have good veterans that can carry them, can go pitch solid games. They've got those mid-20 guys. But then they also got young guys like a Drew Ellingson who just graduated high school who's throwing over 90. So,
wow.
Perm's solid. Pitching depth is there. And then New York Mills, kind of that same thing. They just have that good youth depth coming. But Urbank is a really solid group coming out of there too. And Sauk Center, last year I started the year having them as like one of my top teams in state.
A lot of people did, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they're all 4 of them are in it. I would just say again, just kind of looking at how this year's gone, and the eye test, those 2 high 10 teams are solid, but I know Urbank has such a good group of battle tested guys too that they're definitely in it in Sauk Center. I mean, those 4 teams get a first round bye for a reason.
Yep.
Your dark horse, people that are playing today, Deer Creek is a very solid group, and then like I said, Henning is a very solid group as well. So I think Deer Creek and Henning are the 2 I would be saying are your dark horses that don't get a bye today.
Who of the teams playing today has probably the 2-3 top pitchers?
Like I said, Henning with Lindbergh there,
Okay.
He's really solid. Deer Creek has a handful of guys. It's kind of funny. They kind of get some extra perm guys that are really good. So they've got like Ashton Detloff, guy that's up at UMC playing up at Crookston. He pitches for them. They also have Asher Blaine from Frazee, who's up there pitching at Crookston as well, playing for Deer Creek. So they've got 2 solid guys. And then, I mean, like I said, there's strike throwers for sure. It's not gonna. It's a tournament. You're gonna see some hits and probably some runs, or you're gonna see some really good pitching performances. But yeah, like I said, those two teams just kind of have some guys that are really solid and can carry them a long way.
Okay, yeah,
Perfect.
I mean, just because also look at it, if they don't get in, Class C, they get to draft 2 or 3 players, and you only have 2 teams going. You get to pick from the other 10. You can maybe load up a little bit for that final weekend. So,
and that's what makes it fun too, and it kind of incentive, I guess, in a weird way for some of those teams that don't foresee themselves making a Labor Day run, if you will. Their pitchers can come out and try to show out because they get to maybe be a part of it. Heck, I got to get drafted by Roseau last year, and I got to be a part of the last day of the state tournament. That's one of those once in a lifetime things. You hope it's a twice in a lifetime, but you got to do it once, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, cool. That's. Have we picked the 2 favorites? I guess
he went with Mills and Perham.
That's some good picks. It's actually by the time this recording drops, that first weekend of the tournament will have been played. You guys go then 3 weekends of ball to decide the Region 11C 1 and 2 seeds. So that'll be fun to track, Brandon. You guys will have games in. Let's see. It looks like Perham is the only host here. Oh, New York Mills as well.
Perham and New York Mills, and then that's we kind of obviously we have to juggle, not a juggle around, but we're also helping accommodate 5B in case they have issues with lights or because they don't have lights in Bluffton there to come on over and play New York Mills too.
Gotcha. So, well, I know Perham's fabulous, and I know last year you talked New York Mills too. So 2 solid ballparks. So yeah, enjoy the next 3 weekends, Brandon, and hopefully we'll run into you down at the state tournament, and Jordan can buy you a beer because I'm broke.
Yeah, I'll buy you a beer.
That's good. Thanks.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon.
And we are back here with Jackson Jurek. We're going to cover Region 12. We can jump right into it. We had you on before for 3B, but now we're 12C. So let's talk about it. Let's go through the matchups.
Yeah, so all of these matchups, even the games to get to state, are best of 3 series. So in my opinion, this is, and I don't know other sections, leagues, or districts or regions, but I think the best of 3 is really the best way to do it in terms of getting to state. So the first round, New Prague is the 1 seed, so they got a bye. 7 teams in this region. New Prague the 1 seed, St. Peter the 2, Waldorf the 3, Vesely the 4, Gaylord the 5, Belle Plaine the 6, and Lake Crystal the 7 seed. So they did it seeding wise: 4 versus 5, 3 versus 6, 2 versus 7. I'll start at the bottom with 2 versus 7. St. Peter versus Lake Crystal. Lake Crystal, it's going to be tough for them against St. Peter. They were their last regular season game of the year. St. Peter, I think, shut them out. Last I had checked before I kind of knew what was going to happen, St. Peter was up 8-0 in the 5th or 6th inning.
Okay.
So Lake Crystal has got their work cut out for them. I think St. Peter takes it in 2. So they play August 2nd, 4th, and 6th for their best of 3, but I think St. Peter gets it done in 2. That game, those games start tomorrow, actually, so Sunday.
Yep.
And then Waldorf versus Belle Plaine. This, in my opinion, is the most intriguing matchup of all 3.
Okay.
Waldorf, a top-heavy team. They can win games. They've beat all of these teams here before, maybe minus New Prague. And so I think they're a top-heavy team, but I think Belle Plaine, if they can get a win in games 1 or 2, they can win it in 3. They really just got to get the series to game 3, and I think they can do it. If it is going to 3, I'm taking Belle Plaine. If it sticks to 2, I got Waldorf. So kind of a coin flip game there.
Yeah.
Vesely versus Gaylord, a little bit of bias here, but I'm going to take Vesely. I do think that they are better than Gaylord. Obviously, the seeding says that, but I think Vesely has the pitching matchups to beat Gaylord. They do have they got 3 good righties in Ben Tupy, Nate Pitska, and Sam Gillis. So I would expect Vesely to get it done in 2, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went to 3 and they still got it done.
Sure.
I would take Vesely, and I'll take an upset pick in Belle Plaine, and then I'll take St. Peter. So that would make Belle Plaine take on New Prague, and then Vesely and St. Peter play in those best of 3 series, both of which to go to state with only 2 bids out of 12C this year.
Right. So, and just to cover too, once again, it's a high seed. The DRS going with the high seed. You've got the first game of the series, so out of the best of 3, you're going to go high seed, game 2 low seed, and then if necessary, a game at the high seed or back to the high seed.
Correct. Yep.
So you've got 2 bids. You mentioned a few teams that you like in the early matchups. You still have New Prague that's going to be sitting there. Do you want to talk about New Prague a little bit?
Oh, yeah. The Orioles, great team. Host team this year for C, obviously the Class C championship being on Sunday night of Labor Day weekend. I don't know if anyone has said that yet or not, but Nick Jeneker had said that way back in April, and he wasn't supposed to, so hopefully he didn't catch too much flack for that.
We leaked it. I think we announced it as well.
Yeah. So anyways, New Prague Orioles, really good team out of the DRS. One of the nice things about the DRS is we do a points standings, which kind of keeps it competitive for everyone. Webster winning it, dominating fashion. Vesely won it last year. New Prague was right up there. I think they got as high as second this year. I think they finished 5th. Losing to a couple A teams, but they did beat Vesely twice, so kind of gives you an idea of how they are. I think New Prague, they lean a lot on Gavin Bergman. He won the home run derby this year between the RBL and the DRS players, which was fun to watch.
Big stuff.
I think he hit 13 in a row or something.
Man, I can mash.
Yeah, he can mash, he can shove, sits high 8s with a good curveball, good off speed. He's definitely their stud. James Furness is a DRS New Prague local hero, if you will. He's going to be a veteran leader out there. Anthony Motter wears his heart on his sleeve behind the dish. I love playing against the guy. He's a competitor. They got quick in the outfield. They're young. Everyone wants to go play for the O's. That's the hometown team in New Prague.
Yeah.
So a lot of young kids go there. They got Matt Swaber, who's a younger guy. He can shove as well. Usually comes in late games. So top to bottom, they're a good team. It'll be interesting. I hope that they make it. It's always fun when the host site team does make it to the state tournament. It usually draws a pretty good crowd. And, so I think New Prague can definitely get it done, and I would love to see them in the state tournament.
Absolutely. So you're saying right now your first lock would be New Prague. They've only got to win 2 games, and they're going to find their way to state. Who's your other team out of that grouping that you think is going to come away with the last bid?
Yeah, so this matchup would be St. Peter versus Vesely. These 2 teams played, and I know Bill Dunker might listen to this later, so I'm going to easy on my words here because I played for him for a long time. But he'll agree with this and not like to hear it, but they played one of the ugliest games of baseball I ever watched with my own 2 eyes. And I've been a part of some ugly baseball games before.
Sure.
But Vesely walked off St. Peter in Vesely earlier this year on a suicide squeeze. And I think the game had 10 errors, 11 errors. And it was 13-12 or 12-11. And it was just not great baseball. So that would be the next best of 3 series. Obviously, I'm going to take New Prague over Belle Plaine in 2. In my opinion, they'll get it done in 2, but then I think St. Peter and Vesely, they'll be looking at a 3-game series. I'm going to take Vesely, DRS bias, the team that I grew up playing with and watching, a little bit of bias there, but I'm going to take Vesely in 3 over St. Peter. I think it is going to take 3 games for Vesely to get it done. So they're playing a lot of baseball, 6 games between August 2nd and the 13th, but I think they can do it. They're battle tested. And they know how to win when it matters.
Beautiful, beautiful. And coverage, like you said, KCHK still are they covering most, or if there's coverage, there will be games on 95.5.
Yeah, yep, 95.5. Same thing for 12C, like District 3B, 95.5 KCHK. They'll probably split them up. Knowing Adam over there, he'll want to get as many games covered as he can. Town ball is important in the DRS. So a lot of people tune in. And a lot of good baseball, too, in the DRS and the RBL as well. So we like covering, or KCHK likes covering it, and I like teaming up with him and getting to call games.
Absolutely. Well, the goal is to get to New Prague later this summer. That's number 1. So New Prague going to give it all they got to be the host and get into the dance. So we'll keep an eye on that. And yeah, Jackson, we really appreciate you coming on and giving us some insight into the DRS. And that's it's been really, really great having you.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. It's fun to listen to you guys. It's always a pleasure to tweet your losses. Shout out to the teams that do that. You know, a lot of Twitter burners are fun to watch. It's something that I think has really took over this year. As I get an email about playoffs right now. So
yep.
That's good. But no, it is fun. You know, when the burners get into it, and it is fun to go and be a keyboard warrior, if you will, and talk about all that stuff. But it is nice to see teams tweet their losses. So I do appreciate you guys making that a trend this summer.
Absolutely. We will always push hashtag tweet your losses. There are still teams out there that don't love doing it, but
oh yeah, there's a couple DRS teams that don't do it. So
called out. We're calling them out. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
It's you know, and for a guy in a position like yours, you need as much information online as you can, and it helps everybody. So there is reasoning behind hashtag tweet your losses. So good. Once again, Jackson, really good to have you. Good luck the rest of the way, and enjoy the playoff baseball.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, and it should be fun.
Should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see you, Jackson.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
And we are back. We covered A, we covered B, we covered C, sections, districts, regions. We're going to get it right.
I'm delirious right now. We've been sitting in the same room.
And to touch on that, we've been putting this one together. You know, we're recording this on Saturday, so this is going to drop Tuesday. Today, you listening, it's August 4th, but we recorded this all on Saturday. We spent a good 4 or 5 hours in our in the lab putting this together. Things are going to fall through the cracks. We might have missed something with some certain teams or sections, districts, regions. What we did miss was our sponsors. We got to thank them. So we don't have really like any, our last one, we will have our formal segment for them, but we do want to thank MaxBat. Great sponsor. We do want to thank Rambo, great sponsor. And we have our third and final sponsor, Brian Rock. And actually, we are going to do their segment. So this is your Brian Rock field of the episode.
All right. And since we are on to regions, I'm going to pick a region host.
Ooh. Oh, boy.
Right down the road.
What?
Oh. Dassel Ballpark in Dassel, home of the 2026 Region 6C playoffs. They have also hosted the state tournament in 2005, 2016, 2019, 2023, and 2000 and question mark. I guess we'll find out.
We'll see
in November. Going around the ballpark. Well, it was built in 1901. However, the existing grandstand was built in 2003. Seating capacity around 950. Down the left field line, 330. Left center, 375. Center is 380. Right center is 385. And down the right field line is 320. They have some interesting quirks besides the guy who likes to chainsaw while games are going on in the evening beyond the left field wall. The outfield wall, too, is constructed around the two light towers. So kind of those power alleys, if you are playing center field, be careful. Be careful if one's getting hit over your right or left shoulder. You get them cutouts you could run into as they are constructed around the light towers. Not that it needs to be mentioned, Das Cokato is the Saints. They are in the North Star League. And there's a lot of good facts I like to look at with them. They do overlook the Dassel History Museum and Ergot Museum.
Wow.
Excuse me, Dassel History Center and Ergot Museum, where Jordan Flick got married. We also we also had the state tournament banquet there in 2023. But they were the pioneers of kind of building the deck. Yep, we stole their idea in Delano, and we're going to call it our own. I think Green Isle has done the same. And a lot of places are, building on top of dugouts and these viewing areas. This one is connected to a building, though, very exclusive. So the deck down the third base line at Saints Field is infamous for for characters who frequent this premier viewing spot. Not only are the sight lines great, but the entrance to the area also includes an innovation to enjoy whatever is on the barbecue grill from the game. Wait, so you can bring outside food and beverage? Wow, Jordan.
Yeah, you can. Well, so I would say that on special occasions you can.
There's a couple guys that they don't buy from the concessions. Deck guests include many Saints alumni who are more than happy to give the business to visiting players, I think sometimes, and home players.
I think more so
home players, especially after a miscue. There are stories galore surrounding the antics of the deck dwellers, but nothing surpasses the roar after a fan below the deck was hit by a foul ball. The ball bounced off his head and was caught by a person on the deck. Outside of his pride, the fan was not hurt. Our Brian Warrock Field of the Week, Dassel.
Yes, what a
Saints
park.
Field.
Saints Field. I'm excited to get over there for Regions. It's a beautiful spot. I've had the privilege of sitting on that deck that you mentioned a few times this year, on off days. It's a beautiful spot. A lot of good sight lines. Great park. One of the best concession stands you'll find out there. Led by Amber Flick, and she deserves all the credit. Speaking of concessions, I was just in Delano the other night. The ladies that run the concessions and your ticket taker, Allie, they hooked us up with some burgers after the game.
Great. I noticed that.
You noticed that, huh? It was I don't know if you had about 17 less burgers in your dugout, but
they put it on your tab, Brian.
Allie said that
you're buying.
Allie said that we apparently deserved them more than you. So I don't know. You can talk to her about that.
You know what? I'll say this, John. You schedule a non-league game at the end of the year. You don't know what's going to come of it, but we kind of made the agreement that we wanted to prepare each other for our playoffs, and I think we did.
Yeah.
So you threw one of your better pitchers. We threw a young guy who's, I think, trying to find his way, but he is on a Division I roster, and we wanted to give you a look. You wanted to give us a look. And I know Todd Train, who was on before, one of the previous episodes, he umped the game. And he was impressed, and he's like, well, that's how it should be. You shouldn't just go, non-league, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He goes, you guys wanted to frickin' beat each other, and that made it so enjoyable to umpire for him.
Absolutely, and credit to Todd. He took a ball to the ear in that game, and there was some blood, so he battled through it as well. Fun night in Delano. A lot of good baseball upcoming, but to end the season and play competitive baseball, that's what it's all about. And getting ramped up for playoff ball. You heard it all day today for that 19 hours that we recorded. There's a lot of people that are excited about baseball all around the state, and we got plenty of people on here to represent their area. So anything else you guys want to talk about or cover before we wrap it?
Yeah, I think we can just leave you all, the listeners, with this. Whether it's a section, district, region, there's a lot of host sites that need volunteer help. Go help your local ball clubs out. And I'm going to shameless plug here. August 6th through 9th and 13th through the 15th, Region 6C is in Dassel, and we would love your help in the concessions. You can go to dcsaints.com. There's a QR code right on there. You can sign up. Maple Lake, also in our league, they need help too, so go follow their socials. Help them out. Help everybody out. Wherever you're closest to, go volunteer. I think other than that, next time you'll hear from us is pre-state tournament.
Yeah, I think you should maybe keep an eye out for the selection show. The state board does a pretty fun thing with that. Last year we were lucky enough to be involved. We had a little pre-show that we had a lot of fun with. So next time for the next episode, keep an eye out for that. Until then, enjoy your playoff baseball. Good luck to all the teams, all the underdogs out there, all the favorites. Good luck. Make sure everyone stays healthy, and we'll catch up with you soon. All right. Thank you.